Naruto God Level System, Chapter 821 to 840. Chapter 821 Little Izumi Yuhiko followed home. After class, many boys wanted to come over, but all of them were driven away by little Izumi Yuhiko in disgust. Chen, what's your relationship with her? Sonoko came to Chen's side and asked curiously. It doesn't matter, it's just a very ordinary relationship. Liar. Sonoko shook his head, not believing it at all. My relationship with Chen is very close. On that day, she tied people up and played with them. Little Izumi Yuhiko came over and whispered. What? Yuanzi was startled and couldn't help shouting. Sonoko's shouting drew everyone's attention. Yuanzi, what's wrong? Shaolin asked Yuanzi. She didn't hear what she said before. It's nothing. Sonoko shook his head, then looked at Chen strangely. He really knew how to play. Chen glanced at the little Izumi Yuhiko and felt that he was at a loss, but he didn't do anything to the little Izumi Yuhiko, and now I think about it, I regret it. Shaolin glanced at them strangely, then looked at little Izumi Yuhiko. Hello, my name is Mao Lilan. I'm Chen's friend. Do you and Chen know each other? Shaolin was also very concerned about this matter. Knowing. We are very familiar, and we have done shameful things together. Little Izumi Yuhiko suddenly said in Chen's arms. What? See, a shameful thing. Shaolan suddenly stood up. In fact, this shameful thing refers to killing Oda Sheng and turning him into a wraith, but the little Izumi Yuhiko was lying on Chen's body coquettishly. This caused Shaolin to think crooked all of a sudden. Her face turned pale, and her heart was a little bitter. Shaolin, don't think wrong, it's not what you think, this woman's words are not credible. Chen said to Shaolin. Oh, Shaolin's face became better, she believed Chen's words. Little Izumi Yuhiko pouted. It seems that Hyuga Chen is interested in this Maorilan. How can this be possible? He is my prey. That's right, Chen has been taken as prey by little Izumi Yuhiko, and she wants to capture Hyuga Chen and make him her servant. The school day passed quickly, and little Izumi Yuhiko became famous throughout Tedenhai. Originally, a beautiful transfer student was quite a sensation, not to mention such a beautiful transfer student. In fact, in terms of beauty, Shaolan is no worse than Xiao Izumi Yuhiko, and their two delicate cheeks are on par. But compared to temperament, in the eyes of most people, Xiao Izumi Yuhiko is more attractive than Shaolan. The temperament of a witch is not something that ordinary people can resist. Previously, little Izumi Yuhiko went to school at Jongutian High School. Except for Kuroba Kato, everyone in the school was very obsessed with little Izumi Yuhiko. And Kuroba Kato is not an ordinary person, he is the famous Phantom Thief Kid. The day passed quickly. After school, Chen and Shaolin walked towards the school gate while chatting, while Xiao Izumi Yuhiko also walked behind. After Chen and Shaolin said goodbye, they found that Xiao Izumi Yuhiko was still following him. What, are you going to follow me home? Chen looked behind and said. That's right, they don't live here. Now that they have transferred to this school, they don't know where they live, and they don't even have a place to live. Classmate Chen shouldn't sit back and watch, right? Little Izumi Yuhiko looked at Chen pitifully. Chen will not be deceived by the pitiful appearance of the little Izumi Yuhiko. It's fine if you want to follow me back, but be careful. Chen looked at the little Izumi Yuhiko up and down, and then said. Oh Tilda, don't think that you can scare me like this, I'm not afraid of anything, just that you won't dare. Little Izumi Yuhiko chuckled and said. Ha, I don't dare, you can try it. Chen stared at the little Izumi Yuhiko. He was a wolf, a pervert, and he actually said he didn't dare. The little Izumi Yuhiko really followed Chen to the house. After Belmont and Sato Mawako saw the little Izumi Yuhiko, they were a little weird. Isn't this the girl you tied up that day? Didn't you let her go? Mawako said aloud. Yo, Mawako got off work so early. Chen looked at Sato Mawako. Usually, Sato Mawako has never come back so early. Sometimes when encountering a case, it takes a long time to come back. It is also very hard to be a police officer. Did you take her back again? Belmod asked. No, she came back with me herself, maybe because I'm too charming. Alas, this is the sadness of too much charm, always surrounded by beautiful women. Chen shook his head and sighed. Sato, and little Izumi Yuhiko flipped a Byakugan, or would you like to brag like that? What? From the looks of you, you really don't agree with what I said. Chen said with some dissatisfaction. Cough, why did she come back with you? Sato Mawako coughed lightly and asked. Because I transferred to Teden High School, but I wasn't in Tokyo before, so I had no choice but to come here to stay overnight. Little Izumi Yuhiko said with a slight smile. Sato Mawako's expression became serious, and she pulled Chen to the side. I ask you, have you been deceived by her? What's wrong with me? Didn't you kidnap her before? Did she use this to blackmail you? Asked Mawako Sato. Thinking too much. Blackmail me, does she dare to blackmail me? Then why did she come with you? This is a wolf's den. Could it be that she is blind and falls in love with you? Sato Mawako looked puzzled. Since you said this is a wolf's den, aren't you still in the wolf's den now? You think I am willing to stay in your wolf's den? If you hadn't threatened me with photos, I would have stayed here. Sato Mawako snorted coldly. I didn't say there were any photos. That was Belmode's fooling you. There are no photos at all, Chen Tan said. HMPH, do you think I would believe you? Sato Mawako didn't believe it at all. If you don't believe me, pull it down, remember to wash it and wait for me later. Chen took a photo of Sato Mawako somewhere, and then said. Sato Mawako was very shy, especially when she saw little Izumi Yuhiko's eyes looking this way, she felt even more shy in her heart. So you still have two women here. Little Izumi Yuhiko sat down and said. Belmod looked at the little Izumi Yuhiko and raised his brows. This woman acted like a mistress, which made Belmod very upset. Stop talking nonsense, you have to sleep here at night, right? Just sleep on the sofa. Chen said to the little Izumi Yuhiko. What? You just let me sleep on the sofa? Little Izumi Yuhiko was very dissatisfied. Otherwise, you thought I would treat you well. If you accompany me to sleep, then you don't have to sleep on the sofa. Chen said lightly. Okay, I'm afraid some people won't allow it. Little Izumi Yuhiko glanced at Belmod. No, I agree very much. Belmod said flatly. Chapter 822 Concubine Aries Invitation. Chapter 822, Fei Yingli's Invitation. It's been a bit boring lately. Chen said boringly, lying on the sofa. Little Izumi Yuhiko went to school, Sato Mawako went to the Metropolitan Police Department, and Belmod went out, leaving Chen himself at home. Jingle bell. Is someone looking for me? Chen curiously looked at the mobile phone on the table. Not many people wanted to know his mobile phone number. I don't know the number. I don't know who it is. Could it be a salesman selling stuff? Although he didn't know who it was, Chen still got on the phone. Hey, I'm Hyuga Chen, who are you? Chen, I'm Fei Yingli, didn't I bother you? From the phone, Fei Yingli's voice came. No interruption, I don't know what is wrong with Yingri. Chen asked suspiciously. Well, I want you to do me a favor. Help, what do you want me to do for you, barrister? Chen was even more puzzled. Chen didn't understand anything about lawyers' work. I want you to accompany me to a place, is it okay? On the other side of the phone, Fei Yingri folded her legs and leaned back on the sofa in a relaxed manner. At this time, concubine Yingri was not wearing glasses. She was a little less capable and calm than when she was wearing glasses, but she was a little more charming. Of course you can, is it now? Well, right now, Fei Yingli nodded. Okay, I happen to be bored too, so let's accompany you, this beautiful lady. Chen said with a smile. Fei Yingli pursed her lips, then shook her head and said, I don't think I'm a big beauty, I'm old now. No, I think if you stand with Shaolin, others will definitely think you are sisters. What Chen said was indeed the truth. Their mother and daughter stood together, they were definitely more like sisters than mother and daughter. Fei Yingli smiled, very sweetly, like a little girl, looking at Fei Yingli at this moment, as if she was a dozen years younger, even if she was just a college student. Some people believed her. Then I'll trouble you, I'll go to your house. Fei Yingli said. Do you know the location of my house? Well, it was Shaolin who told me, and it was Shaolin who said you didn't go to school that I called you. So that's the case, then I'll be at home waiting for the concubine's big lawyer to come. Chen said with a chuckle. Didn't I tell you, you want to call me Yingri? Fei Yingli said softly. After hanging up the phone, Fei Yingli quickly drove to Chen's house. It came so fast. Chen invited Fei Yingli in. Because there are no traffic jams on the road, it's quicker to come here. Are you the only one living here? Fei Yingli looked at Chen's house and asked. No, there are 3 big beauties. Fei Yingli felt a sudden shock, and then thought of Belmod, that seductive woman should also live here. Just don't know who the others are. Chen, why didn't you go to school? Is there something wrong? If there is something, you can deal with it. No, I just don't want to go to school. In fact, I'm fine. I'm very comfortable. When you didn't call me, I was still bored in a daze. Chen said to Fei Yingli. Excuse me, Yingri, what can I do for you? I received a case before, and I wanted to find out about the situation, but I was afraid that someone would be unsafe, so I wanted to call you. Fei Yingli said. But half of these words are excuses. Fei Yingli's fighting ability is not weak, and Xiaolan's strong fighting ability is mostly inherited from Fei Yingli. What case? Chen asked curiously. In fact, most cases of divorce and property disputes are such cases. Fei Yingli rubbed her temples and said. Then let's go. Chen nodded, then left in Fei Yingli's car. In front of a luxurious manor, Fei Yingli stepped down and rang the doorbell. Soon a fat woman came out. The concubine's lawyer is here. Come in quickly. The slightly fat woman hurriedly opened the door and was very polite to the concubine Yingri. Concubine Yingri has a very high status in the legal world, and has the title of the unbeaten queen in the legal world, and has always maintained an unbeaten record. So basically, as long as you can invite Fei Yingli, it will be stable. However, Fei Yingri did not accept all requests. Chen followed into the house, and during this period, the slightly chubby woman kept her eyes fixed on Chen. Chen didn't care, and ignored the woman directly. Ms. Kimura 0. Fei Yingli glanced at the slightly fat woman with dissatisfaction in her eyes. Fei Yingli also saw that this woman had been peeking at Chen, which made Fei Yingli feel a little uncomfortable. Kimura Hanako came back to her senses, her eyes wandered on Chen and concubine Yingri, and then said, Concubine lawyer, I will leave this matter to you. No problem, but do you really have evidence of your husband's derailment? Well, that bastard not only cheated, but also wanted me to get out of the house. Kimura Hanako was very angry. By the way, who is this gentleman? Kimura Hanako looked at Chen. I'm the concubine's lawyer's assistant. Chen said aloud. Are you the only one in this house now? Fei Yingli asked curiously. No, that bastard is sleeping on it, and a nanny is out shopping now. Kimura Hanako said angrily. Well, you guys do it for a while, and I'll prepare some fruit for you. Kimura Hanako stood up and walked towards the kitchen. Kimura Hanako left, leaving Tatsu and concubine Eri in the living room. Concubine Yingli stretched her waist, and a brown suit skirt completely set off her figure. Her curvaceous figure attracted people's attention all the time. Am I good looking now? Fei Yingli asked involuntarily, seeing that Chen had been staring at herself. Well, it's very eye-catching. Chen looked at Fei Yingli with unabashed admiration. Fei Yingli smiled when she heard the words. 0.5 this time, it should be easy to solve. Fei Yingli leaned on the back of the sofa, took off her glasses and wiped it gently. The woman named Kimura Hanako has already said that she has evidence of a man's derailment in her hands, so it is really not very difficult to solve this commission. Touch tilde. What sound? Fei Yingli quickly put on her glasses and stood up. The sound came from the kitchen. Chen's eyes turned to the direction of the kitchen. Ms. Kimura went to the kitchen just now. Is it because of something else? Fei Yingli hurriedly ran towards the kitchen. After coming to the kitchen, I saw Kimura Hanako lying on the ground. Blood was flowing from her body continuously, and there was an arrow stuck in her heart. This is... Fei Yingli was not afraid, but frowned. Chapter 823 Murdering Case. Chapter 823 The Murder Case. It's better to call the police now, and leave this kind of thing to the police. Chen glanced at Kimura Hanako, who was lying on the ground. At this point, she was out of breath. I didn't expect the client to be killed. Fei Yingli covered her forehead. What happened? A man hurried downstairs, came to the kitchen, and was shocked to see Hanako Kimura's body. What's going on? How could Hanako do this? The man immediately ran to Kimura Hanako's body and hugged her body. This person is Kimura Hanako's husband. His name is Kimura Tianzheng. Fei Yingli said to Chen. Who are you? How did Hanako die? Does it have something to do with you? Kimura Tianzheng looked at Chen and Fei Yingli angrily. Okay, don't pretend. You're about to get divorced. Why are you pretending to have deep feelings? Chen glanced at Kimura Tianzheng and said. You. Kimura looked at Chen angrily. I'm right, maybe her death has something to do with you. Oh 5, do you suspect that I killed Hanako? I was resting on the second floor before, how could I kill Hanako? Kimura growled even more angrily. Fei Yingli frowned and said, since it has nothing to do with you, why are you so excited? HMPH, my wife is dead, do you think I can't be excited? Also, who are you? Kimura asked angrily. Fei Yingli didn't believe Kimura Tianzheng's statement. In the previous conversation with Kimura Hanako, she already knew that the relationship between the two had reached a freezing point, often quarreling, and even rough. I'm a lawyer hired by Ms. Kimura to be in charge of your divorce proceedings. Fei Yingli said. But now that Kimura Hanako is dead, the commission naturally falls through. Kimura's eyes flickered when he heard the words, and then he didn't say anything. Call the police, and soon the police officer Mumu brought people here, and at the same time there was a little nanny Saruta Mi who came back from shopping. Lawyer Fei, why are you here? And Mr. Chen. Officer Miu looked at Fei Yingli and Chen in surprise. I was invited by the deceased Kimura Hanako, and Chen was invited by me. Fei Yingli said to Officer Mumu. Officer Mumu nodded, then gave Fei Yingli and Chen a strange look. Why did the two of them get together? Could it be something? I can't go on thinking about it. Lawyer Fei is not that kind of person. I was pierced by an arrow in my heart, and the glass was broken. Could it be that the arrow shattered the glass and then killed the deceased? Officer Mumu glanced at it and analyzed it. Officer Mumu, how much power do you think it would take for the arrow to shatter the tempered glass and pierce the heart of the deceased? Fei Yingli said. Officer Miu was stunned for a while. Indeed, I am afraid that no one can do this. Then how did the deceased die? Officer Mumu asked Fei Yingli. Fei Yingli shook her head and said angrily, I'm not a policeman, how could I know? The police are investigating the case, and Chen and Fei Yingli are sitting on the sofa. I didn't expect this to happen. That Kimura is very suspicious, but he shouldn't have killed him. Fei Yingli said. Kimura Tianzheng was on the second floor before, he could not have time to kill Kimura Hanako and then return to the second floor. This is not necessarily, Chen Dan said with a smile. Fei Yingli looked at Chen with a question mark on her face. We went over after hearing the sound earlier, and that Kimura Hanako may not have died at that time. Fei Yingli's eyes lit up. Yes. Kimura Hanako may not have been killed at that time. It is very likely that she was killed before the sound. Don't you think that it took Kimura Hanako a little too long to get the fruit? Fei Yingli shook her head embarrassedly. At that time, she was concentrating on chatting with Chen. How could she have noticed this? So, Chen, do you think it was the man who killed his wife? Concubine Yingri glanced at Masahiro Kimura, who was pretending to be sad. Yeah, Chen nodded lightly. Then how did he kill Hanako Kimura? Fei Yingli was very curious. I don't know. Chen didn't care how Kimura Hanako died. He wasn't so curious, and he didn't even think about helping find the culprit. Officer Mumu, can we leave? Chen asked Officer Mumu. No, you can't leave now. After all, you were the first to discover the deceased, and you must cooperate with the investigation. Officer Mumu shook his head and said. Maybe someone attacked Mrs. Kimura from outside, said the little nanny Sarudame. Officer Mumu looked out the window. The backyard was just outside the kitchen window, so it wasn't impossible, but who was going to kill Mrs. Kimura? Excuse me, has Hanako Kimura ever had a conflict with others? Officer Meguro asked Kimura Tianjung, who remained silent and looked sad. Kimurata raised his head, then shook his head. Hanako's character is very good, and generally does not conflict with others. Not really, isn't she having a conflict with you? You are going to get a divorce. Fei Yingli said aloud. Attorney concubine, what's going on? Officer Miu Miu hurriedly asked Fei Yingli. The purpose of my coming here is actually to be entrusted with the entrustment of property division for divorce. Officer Mumu's eyes became sharp, and he stared at Kimura Tianjung with stern eyes. The serious Officer Mumu was also somewhat powerful. So, Mr. Kimura, you are very suspicious. The motive for the murder already exists. 243. What do you mean, police officer? We have a conflict, but it's not impossible to mediate. Besides, will I kill someone because she wants to divorce me? Kimurata said angrily. Because Kimura Hanako still holds evidence of your cheating. Fei Yingri said again. Fei Yingri's words made Kimura Tianjung's situation even worse, and he glared at Fei Yingri angrily. You are the nanny here, so you should know something. Officer Meguro looked at the nanny Saruda Mei. Saruda Mi looked confused. If I'm not mistaken, this young lady is Mr. Kimura's cheating object. Tisk tisk tilde, the host and the nanny. Chen looked at them with a smile on his face. Kimurata was shocked, and then angrily shouted. Don't talk nonsense, be careful, I sue you for slander. I didn't cheat, everything is because that woman is suspicious. Hanako Kimura has already mastered the evidence of your cheating. What about the evidence? Do you take it out? Kimurata Masaru looked at Fei Yingri proudly. The evidence Kimura Hanako hasn't been handed to me yet. Fei Yingri looked at the look in the eyes of Officer Mumu, shook his head and said. Since there is no evidence, why do you say I cheated? Actually, the evidence is in your hands. If you really killed Hanako Kimura and took away the evidence, I'm afraid there is no way to destroy it. Chen lightly glanced at Kimura Tianjung and said. Chapter 824 End. Go shopping with Fei Yingri. Chapter 824 is over. Go shopping with Fei Yingri. In the living room, the atmosphere seemed tense. Mr. Kimura Tianjung, can you let us do a search? Officer Mumu asked Kimura Tianjung. He is also very suspicious of this Kimura Tianjung. If evidence of his derailment can be found on his body, it must be done by this guy. No, you have no right to search, this is an invasion of my privacy. Kimurata shook his head and refused. Mr. Kimura, if you do this, it will only increase our suspicion of you. Please cooperate with me. Officer Mumu's expression became serious. Why do you only suspect me? Why are they not suspected? I was upstairs and they were downstairs, I suspect they killed my wife. Kimurata pointed at Chen and concubine Ari and said. Fei Yingli's face turned cold and she said lightly, we have no motive to kill her, especially since she is still my employer. Will I kill my own employer? Who knows? Mr. Kimura, are you really sure that you were on the second floor when we first came? Chen asked Kimura Tianjung. What do you mean? Didn't I come down from the second floor before? Kimurata's eyes flashed a trace of panic, and then calmed down again. Yes, you came down from the second floor, but that doesn't mean you were really on the second floor before. Brother Chen, I don't know what you mean by that. Officer Miu Miu asked. When Hanako Kimura opened the door for us, did you take the opportunity to go downstairs? Then you hid in the kitchen, and after Hanako Kimura went to the kitchen, you took the opportunity to kill her. Joke, you guessed all this, right? Hanako was shot to death by a bow and arrow. Do you think I would hide in the kitchen and use a bow and arrow at such a close distance? Bow and arrow are not as good as a knife. Kimura Tianjung said disdainfully. If that's the case, shouldn't I have time to deal with a bow? If you can find a bow in my yard, how about I'm willing to plead guilty? Who said arrows can only be used with a bow? Can't you pierce her heart with your hands? It's ridiculous. Is she really not going to resist? Wouldn't it be better to use a knife that way? If she falls into a coma, wouldn't she be slaughtered? It shouldn't be difficult to do something like ether, right? As long as you cover your mouth and nose, you can be unconscious in a few seconds. As for why you use the arrow, I think you want the police to think she was shot by an outsider from a distance. All of this is your conjecture. Do you come up with evidence? Kimura Tianjung still looked at Chen with disdain. Chen, if he really killed him, how did he get back to the second floor? Fei Yingli asked. This is not difficult. As long as you have a rope and you have some skills, it is not difficult to climb up to the second floor. In fact, you only need to go to his room on the second floor to search, and you will know everything. Takagi, you go take a look. Officer Mumu said to Takagi. You have no right to search. Be careful, I will sue you. You are a suspect now. We naturally have the right to search for suspected people. Officer Mumu asked Takagi to continue to search upstairs. Kimurata's face was extremely gloomy. By the way, the kitchen originally had a security window, but now it was demolished. I think Mr. Kimura should explain it. Chen continued. Officer Meguro looked at Kimura Tianjung. The security window is broken and I haven't had time to replace it. Is there a problem? If you don't believe me, you can ask Amy. Tsuruta Mi nodded. Officer Mumu, in Kimura Tianjung's room, he did find a rope. Kimurata was flustered for a moment, and then said, even if there is a rope, it can't prove anything. Also, we also found a USB stick. Give me back the USB flash drive. Kimurata shouted angrily after seeing the USB flash drive. Is this evidence of your cheating? No, this is an important document of my company, an important document that must not be leaked. Check it out. If it's really a company secret, we'll definitely help keep it secret. Officer Mumu said as he took the computer. Inserting the USB flash drive, the video of the files inside is also shown, which is indeed evidence that Kimurata is derailed, and the heroine is also Miss Tsuruta Mei. You don't seem to have much to say now. Officer Mumu said solemnly. Kimurata was silent, and he didn't argue anymore. Chen, how did you know he was downstairs? I'm just talking nonsense. I didn't expect to hit right. Chen said with a smile. It's almost noon now, let me invite you to dinner. Fei Yingli said. Eating? Don't you want to cook by yourself? If that's the case, forget it. Concubine Yingli gave Chen a charming glance, although she knew that the food she cooked was not delicious, but it hurts a bit for you to do this. After finding a sushi restaurant, after eating the sushi, Fei Yingli hesitated for a while, and then said, it's still early, so I'm fine in the afternoon, why don't we go for a walk? I'm not interested in shopping. Chen shook his head, even if he was shopping with beautiful women, he was not interested. Chen, are you interested in my daughter Shaolin? Chen glanced at Fei Yingli, then nodded. If that's the case, you have to accompany me shopping, otherwise I won't agree with you. Fei Yingli said with a smile. I feel like you are a little out of character now, Chen said after sizing Fei Yingli up and down. Oh, then what kind of character do you think I am? Fei Yingli asked curiously. Queen of the legal world. Shouldn't it be a cold and serious image? Fei Yingli shook her head. Let's go, after all, she is my future mother-in-law. If you don't serve you well, how can you marry Shaolin? You agreed. Fei Yingli felt a little happy. I can't help it. What if I'm chasing Shaolin? What should I do because of today's incident? So I can only please you. Chen showed a helpless look. Fei Yingli lowered her head and did not speak. Going shopping with Fei Yingli, the rate of return is very high, and even almost caused a car accident. Why are you looking at me all the time? Fei Yingli's face was hot. Why does Chen keep staring at me? Does he have any idea about me? It's just that the clothes you are wearing are a little inappropriate. It's too formal. Chen looked at Fei Yingli and said. Wearing a work skirt, although very elegant, revealing a noble temperament, very attractive, but it does not feel appropriate to go shopping. Let's go to the clothing store and have a look. Chen stretched out his hand and pulled up Fei Yingli. Fei Yingli was pulled by Chen, and couldn't help but stunned for a moment. He actually held my hand. Fei Yingli didn't struggle or said anything. She lowered her head and followed Chen into the clothing store. Chapter 825 Kudo Yukiko. Chapter 825, Yukiko Kudo. I think this dress suits you very well. After coming to the clothing store, Chen looked at a black dress and said. Fei Yingli glanced at it, then shook her head. She usually wears smart work clothes. She has never bought such feminine clothes. I don't feel right for me. You can try it on, maybe it looks good. Chen said with a smile. But this dress is not suitable for my age at all. Fei Yingli said with a slightly yuhi cheek. This dress is suitable for women in their 20s. Fei Yingli thinks it is inappropriate. If I wear it, will my acquaintances see me and think I'm pretending to be tender? Then let's look at casual clothes. Chen Tan said. After choosing a few casual clothes, after Fei Yingli put them on, she was a little less capable and more youthful. If you stand with Shaolin now, people will definitely think that you are sisters. Chen looked at Fei Yingli up and down, and then said. Really, do you like it? Fei Yingli took off her glasses and winked playfully at Chen. Chen was stunned. Seeing Chen stunned, Fei Yingli's face turned yuhi. She didn't know why this happened, as if she was back when she was still in school. I didn't expect that a barrister would have such a side. I'm really honored to see it. Eri. 107. Hearing someone calling her, Fei Yingli turned her head and looked to the right. Are you Yukiko? Fei Yingli was stunned for a moment, then asked in a questioning tone. It's really you, Yingri. Yukiko ran over in surprise, like a charming little woman. I feel that you are getting younger and younger, Yingri. We haven't seen each other for 10 years. You seem to be even younger. Yukiko looked at concubine Yingri. You are. Over the years, there has been no change at all. Fei Yingri looked at Yukiko Kudo and said. Yukiko Kudo is the mother of Shinichi Kudo, and she is a good friend with concubine Eri. Yukiko, are you back? Where is Kudo Yusaka? Fei Yingri asked Yukiko. Don't mention him, who knows who that guy is fooling around with. Yukiko Kudo was full of resentment, and there was still a trace of disgust in his eyes. When she came back this time, of course she had a quarrel with Yusaka Kudo, that's why she came back. By the way, who is this handsome guy? Yukiko Kudo looked at Chen. In fact, she has already noticed Chen. After all, standing here, Chen is shining like a star in the dark night, and she can't pay attention if she wants to. Is Eri shopping with this handsome guy? Could it be that Eri was carrying Mori Kogoro behind his back and had an affair with another man outside? This was what Yukiko Kudo was thinking, and she didn't say it, but looking at Chen and Yingri's eyes, it became more and more strange. Although you say I'm a handsome guy, I am very happy, but don't add a small word, okay? Chen said, looking at this beautiful woman with a playful look. Giggle. Yukiko covered her mouth and smiled. My name is Yukiko Kudo. I don't know what's your name, little, handsome guy. Yukiko deliberately added an accent to the word small. Chen looked at Yuchizi expressionlessly, leaned into her ear and asked, would you like to try the size at night? S face suddenly turned yuhi, and she took 2 steps back and said, Eri, this little lover of yours is a rascal. Yukiko, what are you talking about? What kind of lover? Fei Yingli asked Kiba, gnashing her teeth. Yukiko immediately covered her mouth, and when it was over, she accidentally said everything that was on her mind, which was so embarrassing. "Eri, I'm just joking, I know you're not that kind of person," Yukiko said embarrassedly. "No, I'm still such a person." Fei Yingli suddenly hugged Chen's arm with both hands, and the huge Upai squeezed Chen's arm. Yukiko looked at Fei Yingli in astonishment. Could it be true? "Eri, are you kidding me?" Yukiko couldn't help asking. "Just kidding, I'm not kidding with you." Fei Yingli leaned against Chen's arms, her face turned red, and there was a little woman's shyness in her eyes. Yukiko was shocked. Is it really rare? To be honest, having known Fei Yingli for many years, this is the first time she has seen Fei Yingli as a little woman. Chen looked at concubine Yingli leaning in his arms, stretched out his arms around her waist, and didn't take advantage of the bastard. Feeling Chen's hand around her waist, Fei Yingli's face became more yuhi, her eyes were blurred, her body seemed to have lost her strength, her whole body was lying in Chen's arms, and her body seemed to react. Chen looked at Fei Yingli in astonishment, she was so sensitive. Yuchizi stared blankly at Fei Yingli, she really didn't know what to say, could this friend of hers really cheat? Yukiko couldn't accept it for a while. But seeing the two of them snuggling together, Yukiko felt like she was being fed a handful of dog food. "Eri, I really don't believe you would." Yukiko's words made the blurred-eyed concubine Yingri come back to her senses, and quickly got out of Chen's arms, and then said, "Actually, I was just joking with you." "It's just a joke." Yukiko breathed a sigh of relief. However, Yukiko's eyes were very complicated. Seeing what concubine Yingri looked like just now, she didn't seem to be joking, and the affectionate eyes were not fake. Yukiko didn't believe that Fei Yingri could perform, because she, a former star, did not have the confidence to perform through acting. "Then who is he?" "My name is Hyuga Chen, and I'm pursuing Shaolin now." Chen smiled and looked at Yukiko with a smile. Yuchizi became restless after hearing the words, and wanted to pursue Shaolin. Shaolin is her intended daughter-in-law. Yukiko looked at Fei Yingli with doubts in her eyes. The complexity in Fei Yingli's eyes was fleeting. She understood that she seemed to really like Shengchen, but Chen was pursuing Shaolin. If they were together, what would she be? Mother-in-law likes her son-in-law. Thinking of this, Fei Yingli's heart is complicated and indescribable, but when she thinks about it, she seems to have some taboo feelings. Concubine Yingli quickly cut off the thoughts in her mind and couldn't continue thinking about it. "Yingli, he wants to pursue Shaolin, do you agree?" Yukiko asked Fei Yingli, not paying attention to Fei Yingli's strangeness. Fei Yingli looked at Yukiko and nodded lightly. If Chen wanted to pursue her daughter, Fei Yingli would not object. "Eri, do you really agree?" Yukiko asked again. "Well, what is there to disagree with? I think Chen is very good." Fei Yingli glanced at Chen, and the tenderness in her eyes was fleeting. The thought that had just been suppressed in her heart popped up again, if she and Shaolin were at the same time. "No, I can't think about it anymore." She feels as if she has become bad, and Fei Yingli's face becomes more and more moist. Happy New Year's Eve. Chapter 826. A Depressed Yukiko. Chapter 826. A Depressed Yukiko. "Eri, what about my Shinichi?" Yukiko asked with a pouted mouth. "Your Shinyi. What happened to your Shinyi has something to do with me," Fei Yingli said lightly. "Hey, we are good sisters. Shinichi and Shaolin also grew up together, why are you doing this?" Yukiko was very dissatisfied, and gave Chen a bad look at the same time. "Our relationship is really good, but it doesn't mean that I will push my daughter into the fire pit. In your eyes, your son is very important, but in my heart, my daughter is 10,000 times more important than your son," Fei Yingli said lightly. "Why did you just push it into the fire pit? My new one is very good." Yukiko was even more dissatisfied. "Yes, your son is very good, too good for Shaolin to climb high." Fei Yingli's words suddenly filled with a hint of anger. Yukiko looked at Fei Yingli, who was suddenly angry and was a little overwhelmed. Why did she suddenly get angry? "I feel a little out of control all of a sudden, sorry." Fei Yingli calmed down and said. Concubine Yingri is not targeting Yukiko, but really has no good impression of Kudo Shinichi. Every time there is a case, Shaolin is left behind, ignoring Shaolin's feelings at all. These concubine Yingli know that even a mother can't stand her daughter being treated like this. If it wasn't for Yukiko's face, Fei Yingri would have let Kudo Shinichi go as far as possible. Yukiko nodded, but didn't take it to heart, but Fei Yingri seemed to have a lot of opinions on Shinichi. Could it be because he said something bad to Fei Yingli? Yukiko's eyes turned to Chen. Do you think I said something bad that made Eri hate Kudo Shinichi so much? Chen said, meeting Yukiko's gaze. Eri. Yukiko was taken aback for a moment, then looked suspiciously at Chen and concubine Yingri again. To actually call Yingri directly, so close, this relationship is too unusual, right? But because Chen had already said that he wanted to pursue Shaolin, Yuchizi didn't think much about it. Isn't it? My family's Shinichi is so good, and Fei Yingli rejects him so much. You must have said something. Yukiko said with a light snort. You think your son is very popular. There are many people who want him to die. The people who were sent to prison by him want to let him die all the time. What do you want to say? Yuchizi asked Chen. That guy jumps up and down. There are many people who offend. If you offend someone you can't afford to offend, your whole family will be finished. Chen said very directly. Fei Yingli nodded. She also thought so. The laws of this world cannot punish everyone. If Kudo Shinichi provokes some big power, what will Shaolin do? Police and detectives are both dangerous professions, and it is not only dangerous to yourself, but also to your family. That guy's reasoning and solving the case are the first in his heart, and being single forever is the best choice. Damn, my son won't be single. Yuchizi stared at Chen angrily. Originally, because Chen was handsome, Yukiko still had a slight affection for him, but now she doesn't have any affection at all. I tell you, Shaolin likes Shinyi the most, you'd better stay away from Shaolin. You don't seem qualified, Chen pouted in disdain. Yuchizi was depressed, and her concubine Yingri did not object, so she was naturally ineligible. Yingri, this guy must be speaking ill of Shinichi in front of you. He's not a good person. You'd better keep him away from Shaolin. Kiko, that's enough, Chen didn't mention Kudo Shinichi. Don't say this in front of me, I don't want us to be friends. Concubine Eri stared at Yukiko seriously. Yukiko looked at Fei Yingri's serious look and chose to shut up. She knew that Fei Yingri was serious now. Hey, Shinichi, what did you do to make Eri so disgusted? Yukiko sighed in her heart. Long time no see, Eri, let's have a meal together. Yukiko said to concubine Eri. Okay, but another day, I still have something to do today. Is something wrong? Aren't you shopping? What's the matter? Yukiko couldn't help asking. Isn't it okay to go shopping? Chen asked. Then I can go shopping with you too. It just so happens that I have nothing to do. Don't you think you're an eyesore? Damn guy. Yuchizi glared at Chen angrily. She was a beautiful woman, and the other party thought she was an eyesore, which was outrageous. However, when shopping, Yukiko still followed up with a stubborn face. Yuchizi, how long are you going to stay when you come back? Fei Yingli asked Yuchizi. 0. For flowers. I don't know about this either, and I don't have time. Yukiko shook her head. Are you angry with Kudo Yasaka? Hearing Fei Eri mentioning Yasaka Kudo, Yukiko was silent for a while, then shook her head. Don't mention Kudo Yasaka. I don't want to mention him now, that guy is just disgusting. Yukiko's face was filled with disgust. Concubine Yingri glanced at Yukiko. She and Kudo Yasaka didn't seem to have an ordinary conflict. But Fei Yingli didn't care. This was Yukiko's own personal affair, and it had nothing to do with Fei Yingli. Yukiko, why are you buying so many things? Fei Yingli couldn't help saying, looking at Yukiko who was shopping frantically. I've only just arrived in Tokyo, and of course I have to prepare something. As a man, how about helping me carry things? Yuchizi handed the things in her hand to Chen. Sorry, I'm not your man, why do I bring you something? Chen refused without hesitation. You, Yuchizi's body trembled. Did you see Yingri? He is not considerate at all, and he must not entrust Shaolin to him. An angry Yukiko said to Fei Yingri. Concubine Yingri shrugged and ignored Yukiko, which made Yukiko very angry. Damn, I'm mad at me. Yukiko bit Kiba. Originally, I came to Tokyo to relax, but on the first day of my arrival, I was so full of anger that Yukiko was so depressed that she was dying. Looking at Chen's indifferent face, Yuchizi's anger grew upward, and she was about to die of anger. Miss, you bought so many items, our store will help you send them home. The waiter said to Yukiko. I see, that's about the same. Yukiko nodded, and then handed all the items in her hand to the waiter. Humph. Yuchizi snorted softly towards Chen. Chen shrugged, ignoring Yukiko at all. Yuchizi, do you still want to buy something? Fei Yingli asked Yuchizi. No more, let's go eat first. I feel hungry. Yukiko touched her stomach, and now her stomach was almost growling. Happy New Year's Eve. Chapter 827. Conan chose to hide it from Yukiko. Chapter 827. Conan chooses to hide from Yukiko. You can order whatever you want, I'll treat you today. Yukiko said boldly. Yukiko used to be a big star that swept the world, and some of them were money, so it was no problem to treat guests. Since that's the case, then I'm welcome. Chen took the menu, then picked the expensive ones, and ordered a lot. Yuchizi did the math, this meal is several million yen, and if converted into RMB, it will cost hundreds of thousands. Thinking of slaughtering herself for so much money for one meal, Yuchizi couldn't help biting Kiba. Even if she was rich, she wouldn't be slaughtered that way, it's slaughtering her like a pig. Chen, after ordering so many things, are you finished? Fei Yingli asked Chen. Don't worry, you can definitely finish it. I'm already showing mercy, otherwise, I can definitely eat poor her. Huh, eat me poor, this is the funniest joke I've ever heard. Yukiko pouted. You don't know how rich I am. Even if you eat expensive food, I can make you die. However, this is because Yuchizi doesn't know how much Chen can eat, and Chen said that he can eat continuously for a year without stopping. If you can't finish your meal today, just stay here and wash the dishes. Yukiko folded her arms, her long white legs crossed, and stared at Chen playfully. However, after eating, Yukiko came to Chen's side and put out a small hand on his stomach to touch it. After eating so much, your stomach didn't bulge. Where did your food go? Yukiko asked curiously. Chen, are you really okay? Fei Yingli looked at Chen worriedly. She and Yukiko only ate a small amount of the dishes on the large table before, and Chen ate the rest. It's okay, don't put your hands around. Chen took the woman's hand away from Yukiko. What's wrong with a touch, you cheapskate? Yukiko's face turned slightly Yuhi, and then she recovered. After eating, Fei Yingri drove Chen and Yukiko back in a car. Yuchizi is still good to me, if you know you can send me back first. Yuchizi said with a smile. No, Chen also lives here. Fei Yingli said quietly. The smile on Yukiko's face froze, and she gave Fei Yingri a gloomy look. Why is Fei Yingri angry with her? So irritating. So you live here too. Yukiko calmed down the depression in her heart, then looked at Shang Chen. Yes. After Chen got off the bus, Fei Yingli went to see Yukiko, but there were only a few dozen meters left. Chen's home was not far from Kudo's. Back home, Belmod has returned. How is it? Is it done? Chen asked Belmod. Not yet, but it has nothing to do with me. Belmod came over, sat beside Chen, and leaned over Chen's arms. Before Belmod went out, it was the task of the Black Organization. Now Belmod is still in the Black Organization, and he has no intention of leaving. In the past, Belmod wanted to leave the organization, or even destroy it. Now Belmod has the power to destroy the organization, but she doesn't care. With the strength of Belmod at this time, it is really not difficult to destroy the black organization. But Belmont didn't have that plan, and now she treats the black organization as a toy. By the way, that guy Jin actually suspected me of betraying the organization and threatened me. People are so scared. Belmont leaned on Chen and looked at Chen pitifully. Since you're scared, let me comfort you. Chen entered the room with Belmont in his arms. Soon after, clear singing came from the room. Sato Mawako and little Izumi Yuhiko also came back soon, and it was strange to see no one in the house. Where are they? Little Izumi Yuhiko walked towards the bedroom. But as soon as I got close, I heard the loud singing coming from inside, and Izumi Yuhiko's face turned Yuhi's face. Sato Mawako held her forehead. It goes without saying that Chen and Belmont were inside. They must be doing that kind of thing. It's not dark yet. I'm not ashamed. Mawako said in a low voice. I'm going back to my room to do my homework first. Little Izumi Yuhiko said quickly, then walked towards her bedroom. Now the little Izumi Yuhiko has lived here. It was not until night that Chen came out of the room, and Belmont was still in the room. She had no strength. Little Izumi Yuhiko looked at Chen with contempt in her eyes. What do you mean by looking at me like that? Chen pinched the little Izumi Yuhiko's face. I have to say that little Izumi Yuhiko's face is very tender and very smooth. I despise you. Chen stretched out his hand and embraced the little Izumi Yuhiko in his arms. The little Izumi Yuhiko froze for a moment, his body stiffened, and he looked at Chen closely. Cough cough tilde. Sato Mawako coughed twice, with dissatisfaction in his eyes. Are you jealous, Mawako? Chen let go of the little Izumi Yuhiko and asked Mawako Zero. Humph. Mawako snorted softly and sat down without speaking. What are you eating tonight? Who's going to cook? Chen asked Mawako and little Izumi Yuhiko. And Izumi Yuhiko looked at each other. Mawako didn't know how to cook, so it was almost the same for her to catch the criminal. And little Izumi Yuhiko, she can make poison and magic medicine, but she can't cook. Forget it, let's order takeout. Chen said while looking at them. Maybe we should find a cook. On the other side, Kudo's house. Yukiko wiped her sweat and sat down. Shinji is a little soulless, and he doesn't know how to clean, and he doesn't know how dirty the house is. Yukiko wasted a lot of energy before cleaning out a room and staying there for the time being. By the way, where did Shinichi go? Looking at the dust, it seems like it hasn't come back for a long time. Yukiko frowned slightly. He took out his phone and called Shinichi. Conan, who was at the Mori Detective Agency, felt the vibration of his mobile phone and took it out. Mom's phone. Conan paused for a moment, then ran out. Take out the bow and tune into his own voice. Hey, Mom, what are you calling me for? What did you call me, stinky boy? You actually called me Mom. Are you saying I'm old? Yukiko roared angrily. And Conan's ears suffered. Where are you now? Come back to me quickly, I'm at home now. 3.5, Yukiko said to Conan. What? Mom, you're at home. Conan was surprised. I didn't expect his mother to come back. Now that he has become like this, how can he go back? Do you want to confess to Yukiko? This thought flashed in Conan's mind, and Conan dropped it in an instant. You must not let Yukiko know about him getting smaller, because Conan is worried about Yukiko. Not because he was afraid that Yukiko would harm him, but because he was afraid that Yukiko would accidentally reveal it. Conan chose to hide it. Mom, I'm dealing with a big case now, and I'm not in Tokyo. I don't have time to go back now, so I'll hang up first. Conan hung up in a hurry, and then called Dr. Ali. He was afraid that Kiko would ask Dr. Ali and expose his current situation, so he had to say hello first. Happy New Year's Eve. Chapter 828. If you don't come back, don't come back. Chapter 828. Don't come back if you don't come back. Shinichi, why are you free to call me? Dr. Ali asked in confusion. Dr. Lee, do you know that my mother is back? Yukiko. Dr. Ali was stunned for a moment, then said, I don't know, I have been concentrating on doing research, not paying attention to external affairs. Doctor, please help me hide the fact that I am getting smaller now, I don't want my parents to know. Conan said. Why? Dr. Lee asked in confusion. My mother is super unreliable. I'm not worried that my father knows, but I am a little worried about my mother's words. Conan was worried that Yukiko accidentally leaked his words. If the organization in black knew that he was not dead and had become smaller, he would definitely not let the people around him go. Shinichi, I don't think Yukiko will leak it out. Oh, anyway, the doctor must not tell my mother, please doctor. Okay, by the way, has your father, Gung 24 Fuji Yasaka, come back? If he comes back, you can tell him and ask him to help. Yasaka is very capable. I don't know this, I didn't ask. Conan was a little embarrassed. But even my father, don't tell him, if he knows, it means my mother knows too. Well, I'll keep it a secret for you. If Shizi asks you where you've been, I'll say you've gone out to handle the case, how about that? Well, okay, thank you, Dr. Agsa. Conan and Dr. Agasa finished talking, and then hung up, but just after he hung up, Yukiko's phone called again. Conan hesitated, then chose to connect. Stinky boy, how dare you hang up my phone, it's really outrageous. Yuchizi roared angrily. If you dare to come back, see how I will deal with you. After Conan heard it, he wiped away a cold sweat, but he just wanted to go back, and there was no way he could do it. After Yuchizi calmed down his anger, Conan said, Mom, I have something very important just now. Important thing? What's so important? Is it more important than talking to your mother and me? I found a clue here, which is very important. Conan said perfunctorily. Yukiko is pissed off. Co-authoring her is not as important as a clue, this guy is so pissed off. You hurry back to me now. Mom, I really have something to do, and I don't have time to go back at all. If you have something, just tell me quickly, I'll have to handle the case later. Handling a case? You are not a policeman, how dangerous are you outside, and do you know that someone is pursuing Shaolin, who is much more handsome than you, and if she doesn't come back, Shaolin will be taken away. Yukiko said angrily. Pursuing Shaolin, who is it? Could it be that bastard Hyuga Chen? Conan was stunned, then asked. That's right, it's him. Yukiko said lazily, leaning on the sofa, holding her phone. How did you know him? Conan frowned. I met him on the road, he was with Yingri. Eri. Xiaolan's mother, concubine Yingri, have you forgotten? Yukiko said with black lines all over her head. He doesn't even remember his childhood sweetheart's mother, this guy is probably full of cases. It's really frustrating. After such a reminder, Conan suddenly remembered that Shaolin's mother seemed to be very scary. He remembered that when he was a child, what he was most afraid of was Fei Yingli. Okay, I won't talk to you so much, you hurry to come back now. Yukiko gave Conan a death order. Conan smiled bitterly, even if Kiko asked him to go back, it was absolutely impossible for him to go back like this. Sorry Mom, I really have something important, and I don't have time to go back now. You really want to piss me off. What kind of case are you participating in now? Yukiko stood up with an angry look on her face. At this time, Yukiko was really angry. Mom, this needs to be kept secret and cannot be disclosed. Conan said with a wry smile. Can't even tell me. Yukiko sat down again and bit Kiba angrily. If Conan was by her side now, Yukiko would definitely slap him to death. By the way, Mom, did Dad come back with you? Conan asked. On the one hand, Conan really wants to know, and on the other hand, it is to divert the topic. No, why did he come back with me? Yuchizi said lightly. Listening to Yukiko's indifferent tone, Conan knew that the two of them must have quarreled, so Yukiko returned to Tokyo alone. By the way, Mom, are you at home now? Conan suddenly thought of something and asked seriously. One thing he ignored before was the black organization. Now that Uchizi has gone back to live at home, I don't know if it will attract the attention of the black organization. If you let them hurt Yukiko, Conan will definitely regret it for the rest of his life. Of course, I don't live at home. Mom, listen to me, I'm afraid it's not safe for you to live at home alone, why don't you change your place? Conan said nervously. Uchizi frowned slightly when she heard this. Shinichi, did you cause something? Yukiko asked Shinichi. No, I didn't cause anything, I'm fine now, it's just that Tokyo is not safe, so. How unsafe it can be, don't say it anymore, come back now. Conan was silent. Feeling Conan's silence, Yukiko didn't speak either. After taking a deep breath, she said, Shinichi, if you don't come back, then never come back. This time Yukiko is serious, she can be sure that Shinichi must have caused something, so Yukiko firmly disagrees with him continuing to be outside. I have something else to do, so hang up first. After Conan finished speaking, he hung up the phone directly. Yukiko clenched her fingers and punched the sofa angrily. Shinichi, this bastard, is really worrying. Hope he's really okay. Now Yukiko doesn't know where Shinichi is, so there's no other way. Yukiko is also very angry now, so she just ignores these things in anger, but Yukiko also knows that with Shinichi's ability, nothing should happen. But if this guy doesn't come back, isn't that Shaolin going to be robbed? Although Yukiko knows that Shinichi is very good, but his opponent is Hyuga Chen, not to mention what special talents Hyuga Chen has, this Yukiko has never understood. Just talking about appearance, Shini is completely defeated, and appearance is the strongest weapon for pursuing girls. Shaolin is not a superficial person who looks at looks, but she will definitely have a good impression of men with good looks, that's for sure. Because of Yukiko herself, she didn't feel much ill will when she learned that the other party was her son's rival in love, just a little unhappy. Even she is like this, not to mention the girl Shaolin. Chapter 829 Date with Mawako Part 1. Chapter 829, Dating with Mawako Part 1. Belmod, Yukiko Kudo is coming to Tokyo, Chen said to Belmod. Belmod, who was lying in Chen's arms, was stunned for a moment. Of course she knew Yukiko Kudo. Belmod and her were friends. Once upon a time, they also learned the disguise technique with the Black Feather Pirate together. She actually went back to Tokyo. Well, aren't you going to have a look? Chen asked Belmod. Belmod gave Chen a strange look. He seemed to know his relationship with Yukiko, but how did he know? Belmod never said that she knew Yukiko Kudo. How did you know? Belmod couldn't help being curious and asked towards Chen. No secret is a secret to me, the difference is whether I want to know it or not. I do know Yukiko, but now that Sharon is dead, she and I are strangers. Sharon is her true identity, but now in the eyes of outsiders, Sharon is dead. Then you can also meet her as Chris Wynyard, Chen said, stroking Belmod's smooth hair. Chrissy Wynyard is Sharon Wynyard's daughter, but these two identities are actually Belmod's own. One person plays two roles, and the outsiders can't see it. What are you talking about? Sato Mawako came over and asked. Nothing. Sato Mawako frowned slightly, always feeling that they were hiding something from her, which made Sato Mawako very uncomfortable. Tomorrow is the weekend, are you still going to work, Mawako? Chen asked Mawako. Mawako nodded. The Metropolitan Police Department rarely had vacations, only one day off a week at most, and if there was any urgent task, the vacation would be in vain. No way, the police profession is so hard. Of course, if it's a clerical job, it's better, and it's easier every day. Oh, that's really a pity, I wanted to invite you out to play tomorrow. Chen-tan said with a hand. Mawako's ears moved, and then she said, maybe I can take a leave of absence. Mawako took out her mobile phone and asked Police Officer Megumi for a leave. Although Officer Megumi was curious as to why Mawako, who has always been dedicated to her work, asked for leave, she still allowed it. Early the next morning, Chen took Sato Mawako away, while the little Izumi Yuhiko looked at Belmod with an unhappy look. Why are you blocking me? What are you going to do? Don't you think it's in the way? Belmod pressed the little Izumi Yuhiko's shoulder. Just pressing her shoulder made the little Izumi Yuhiko unable to move, unable to struggle at all. That day, the person who stunned me and kidnapped me should be you, right? Little Izumi Yuhiko asked Belmod. Oh, you know, Chen told you. Belmod asked strangely. No, he didn't tell me, but the scent on you sounds familiar to me. Little Izumi Yuhiko smelled the fragrance of Belmod's body at close range this time, and then remembered that when she was knocked out and kidnapped that day, she also smelled the same fragrance. I'm curious, why did you suddenly come back? Belmod didn't care about this. What she cared about was why the little Izumi Yuhiko came into the tiger's mouth again. HMPH, I'm here to capture that guy and make him my servant and serve me. Little Izumi Yuhiko didn't hide his purpose. Oh, Tilda. Looked at the little Izumi Yuhiko mockingly. What are you laughing at? Little Izumi Yuhiko was a little dissatisfied. I'm laughing at your naivety. I hope that when the time comes, you won't be captured as a servant. After Belmod finished speaking, he returned to the room. Hey, just wait and see. Little Izumi Yuhiko will prove her charm with reality. She is a unique witch. Can definitely conquer Hyuga Chen and let him tell all his secrets. Little Izumi Yuhiko is very curious about Chen's secrets. Where are you going? Mawako asked Chen. Let's go to the tropical paradise. Chen thought for a while and then said. It's not necessary to go shopping. Chen doesn't like shopping very much, and Mawako doesn't like shopping very much either. Oh, Mawako nodded. Mawako, I feel like you are a little different from you today. Chen gave Mawako a strange look. Mawako is too quiet, like a good girl, but Mawako is not like this. In your eyes, what do I look like? Mawako turned her head and kept her eyes fixed on Chen's profile. Seeing Chen's flawless face, like a face carved out by God, Mawako went crazy. Looks like I'm very attractive. The most famous police flower actually stared at me. A smile appeared on Chen's face. Face turned red. Yuhi suddenly became hot, and whispered, You haven't answered my question yet. In my eyes, Mawako, you are a refined, capable, and outspoken woman. The way you look now makes me feel a contrast, and it feels very cute. Chen reached out and squeezed Mawako's cheek. Okay, here we are, get out of the car. Chen parked the car in a parking space and said to Mawako. After opening the door and getting out of the car, Chen reached out and took Mawako's hand, then walked towards the tropical park. After purchasing the tickets, Chen and the others entered the interior of the amusement park. During the period, Mawako did not speak, and bowed her head a little embarrassedly. This was her first experience. Mawako, who held hands with a man and had a more forthright personality in a large crowd, suddenly became awkward. Chen looked at the appearance of Mawako's little woman, and hugged her directly in her arms. Mawako didn't dare to look up. The men around looked at Chen with envy and jealousy. Mawako was a first-class beauty. When they saw Chen holding a beautiful woman, they were naturally envious. Women, on the other hand, looked at Mawako with knife-like eyes, looked at their man, and looked at Chen, who was fresh and handsome, and Yushu was in the wind, and they felt dissatisfied in their hearts. Why such a handsome man, not my boyfriend, couldn't help being angry and jealous of Mawako. Chen, are we dating? After a long time, Mawako raised her head and asked Chen. Of course. Chen lowered his head and gently kissed Mawako's forehead. Then what is the relationship between us? Am I your woman? Mawako's voice was trembling. At this moment, all of Mawako's strong appearance faded away, and she looked at Chen with a helpless look in her eyes. She was very afraid that Chen would say that she was just a plaything. After all, she and Chen are not in a normal relationship, and even she herself doesn't know what kind of relationship she has with Chen. Of course you are my woman. Chen hugged Mawako tightly in his arms. Mawako didn't say a word. She stretched out her hand and hugged Chen, maybe it was really love for a long time. Now she really fell in love with Chen, very much in love. It was because of this that she wanted to know what her status was in Chen's heart. Chapter 830 Dating with Mawako, Part 2. Chapter 830 Date with Mawako, Part 2. Mawako hugged Chen tightly and didn't let go for a long time. Chen, are you really going to get bored of me one day and kick me away? Mawako asked in a low voice, lying on Chen's heart. Although I'm not a good person, I will never do anything to abandon my woman. You are my woman. Even if you want to leave, you can't leave. Chen lowered his head and kissed Mawako. Mawako was also lost in it, looking at Chen with water light in her eyes. Okay, let's go play. Chen let go of Mawako, took her hand and walked forward. What are you going to play? Merry-go-round, Chen asked Mawako. No, it's too embarrassing. Mawako glanced ahead, then shook her head. This is for children to play, I feel a little shy to play this. Let's go for a roller coaster. Mawako looked at the roller coaster not far away. Before coming to the roller coaster, Chen took Mawako's hand and sat on it. Actually, this is the first time I've been on this. Mawako was a little strange to sit on it, but she had never been on a roller coaster. Then try it out today. I hope you won't be frightened, Chen said while pinching Mawako's nose. HMPH, this can still scare me. Mawako snorted softly, but she still grabbed Chen's hand nervously. Grabbing 630 Zuchen's hand, Mawako felt at ease for a while, looked at Chen with a soft gaze, and a smile appeared on her face. Soon the roller coaster began to start slowly, and the speed continued to increase. The oncoming wind was blowing, and Mawako's eyes were tightly closed, and she didn't dare to open her eyes at all. Chen took Mawako's hand and said softly, Mawako, don't need to be afraid, there is nothing to be afraid of. Mawako opened her eyes, only to see the coaster rushing up to the top, and then swooping down quickly. Ah! Mawako yelled out, but Mawako adapts very quickly, and after a short while, she got used to it completely, and she even felt a little excited. Mawako likes racing. It was scary at first, but that's how it feels now. After getting off the roller coaster, Mawako said, Go play with something else. Chen's eyes turned to the Ferris wheel in the distance. Come on, let's ride the Ferris wheel. Since it's a date at an amusement park, it would be a pity if you don't take the Ferris wheel. This handsome guy, can you leave a contact information? A woman said standing in front of Chen. No, Sato. Mawako glanced at the other party and said badly. I didn't ask you, do I still need you to make a decision? Go away. Sato. Mawako clenched her fists and gestured towards the opponent. The woman's face changed, she glanced at Sato Mawako, and then walked away silently. She is not a woman who is good at fighting. It's amazing, it scared the other party away at once. Chen said with a smile. It's all because of you. Mawako gave Chen an angry look, but she wasn't attracted to him. Chen took Mawako's hand, stepped on the Ferris wheel, and watched the scenery below from the Ferris wheel. I haven't been so relaxed for a long time. Sato. Mawako leaned against Chen's arms and looked out. From here, you can see the blue sky Shirakumo, as well as high-rise buildings. After getting off the Ferris wheel, Chen took Sato Mawako to visit all the places in this tropical paradise. Hey Tilda, I'm a little hungry, let's find a place to eat. Mawako said. Chen nodded, left the tropical paradise, and took Mawako to a large hotel. The two of us have dinner, we don't need to come to such a place. Mawako said. She knows the consumption here is high and doesn't want to waste money. It doesn't matter, I'm not short of money anyway. However, when Chen and Mi Kazuko walked in, they happened to see the police from the Metropolitan Police Department, and the police officer Mumu was also here. What's the matter? Could it be that something happened? Something did happen here, but it was just a fight. The murderer has now been caught, and Officer Mumu and the others were going to leave. Officer Mumu was taken aback when he saw Chen and Mawako. Why is Mawako here? Doesn't she have something important to do? Police officers Mawako and Meguro asked for leave before, saying that there was something very important. Officer Mumu. Mawako, are you two dating? Officer Megumi asked. If it's a date, it's really an important thing, and it's related to life events, of course it's very important. Face Yuhi did not refute. The faces of the male police officers who followed behind Officer Mumu were not very good looking. Among them, the married people were not very good, and those who were single had very ugly faces. Looking at Chen's eyes is very unpleasant, as if to swallow him alive. Facing this kind of gaze, Chen directly put Mawako in his arms, and looked at them lightly. This angered them even more. The fire of anger appeared in their eyes, and the endless anger made them want to do it. But thinking that they were the police, if they beat people, it would definitely have a bad effect, so they could only put down their fists and looked at Chen unwillingly. Officer Sato, are you really boyfriend and girlfriend? Takagi asked in a depressed mood. Yeah, Mawako nodded lightly. This suddenly made them completely fried. Although Mawako didn't deny it before, she didn't admit it either, which made them have a shred of expectations, and now even a shred of expectations have been shattered. In that case, we won't disturb you. Officer Mumu smiled, and then left with the other officers. Although those people were not reconciled, they could only follow the police officer Mumu to leave. Before leaving, they gave Chen a fierce look. If the other party does something one day, it will definitely make this hateful little white face look good, and it is unforgivable to actually hook up their goddess. It seems that you are in the Metropolitan Police Department. There are many admirers. Their eyes seem to eat me. I and they are just ordinary colleagues. Chen, don't get me wrong. Mawako quickly said to Chen. I know, let's go eat first. Chen came to the front desk and opened a room. Tonight, we're going to sleep here for one night and won't leave. Chen chuckled and looked at Sato Mawako. Mawako Sato's face suddenly became Yuhi. Although it was not done once or twice, Mawako Sato was still shy. Let the hotel bring the food into the room, and after Chen and Mawako finished eating, Chen's eyes reached out and put Mawako in his arms. No, it's not dark yet. Sato Mawako pushed Chuchen. But Chen didn't care. Holding Mawako into the bedroom of the suite, Mawako only struggled symbolically, and then obeyed. Chapter 831 Hattori Heiji. Chapter 831 Hattori Heiji. Chen, do you have time? What's the matter with Shaolin? Chen asked Shaolin while holding the phone. Ah, nothing, just want to treat you to dinner. In Mori's office, Shaolin was holding the phone with a shy face, while Conan watched with a jealous expression not far away. Damn, are you calling that guy again? Conan said, biting Kiba. These few days, whenever Shaolin is free, she will talk to that bastard Hyuga Chen. After chatting for a while, Shaolin hung up the phone happily, hummed a song softly and returned to the room, and after a while Shaolin dressed up and walked out. Sister Shaolin, are you going out? Conan asked Shaolin. Well, I'm going out to buy groceries, and I'll be back in a while. Your brother Chen will come here to eat in a while. If you have a cold, Conan, don't go out. Just stay at home, Shaolin said to Conan. Conan caught a cold yesterday and is still running nose. Conan's expression is not good looking. He doesn't want to call that bastard brother. Conan has a deep hostility to Chen. Watching Shaolin go out humming a song, Conan sat on the sofa with a gloomy face. No, we must let Shaolan see the real face of that guy. He is not a good person. If Shaolan gets close to him, he will definitely be hurt. Conan said secretly. He hasn't forgotten that he killed those robbers in the department store back then. Although those people were robbers, but when he killed those people, he was a criminal. And that guy, who doesn't seem to care about human life at all, is definitely a cold-blooded and ruthless person. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Kid Conan, hurry up and open the door. Kogoro Mori took the newspaper over his head and said to Conan. Conan stood up unhappy. In fact, Conan didn't want to open the door, because he already knew who was coming. But he had to open the door when he was unhappy. Conan came to the door, opened the door, and saw Chen smilingly standing outside the door. Sure enough, it was this guy. It's a great honor for Conan to open the door for me. Where's Shaolin? Chen asked. Chen, you're already here. Shaolin walked upstairs quickly, looking at Chen in surprise. Sister Shaolin, you're back. Conan's unhappy face immediately repeated. He knew that if Shaolin saw his unhappy face, she would definitely teach him a lesson. Well, Chen, come in quickly. Shaolin nodded casually at Conan, then dragged Chen's arm to walk into the room. Mori Kogoro, who was lying on the chair with his eyes half squinted, stood up with bright eyes after seeing Chen coming in. It turned out to be Chen boy. You came, you said you came, why do you have to bring something? Mori Kogoro stared at the wine in Chen's hand with glowing eyes. Chen, Shaolin and Conan were all speechless. Shaolin covered her face in shame. Dad, your saliva is drooling, can you care about your image? Shaolan said dissatisfiedly. Ah, Mori Kogoro quickly wiped his saliva, but he couldn't help drooling after seeing the wine. Really, Chen, talk to Dad first. I'll go get ready to cook. Are you going to cook now? Chen looked at the time, it was only after 9 o'clock, do you have to eat so early? Shaolin looked at the time and thought it was the same, because she just had breakfast not long ago, and it is indeed a bit early to eat now. Let's do it for a while then. Shaolin nodded lightly and sat on the sofa chatting with Chen. And Mori Kogoro, who couldn't wait to open the bottle and started drinking the small wine. Shaolin couldn't do anything about him. Ding dong. Shaolin's eyes turned to the door. Is there a client? I'll open the door. Shaolin stood up and said. Hello, may I ask who you are? Shaolin opened the door and asked the dark-looking man with a hat. Where is Shinichi Kudo? I know that kid is here, let him come out for me. Conan, who was sulking in the chair, naturally heard the loud shout. Cough. Did the people in the black organization discover my identity? Conan coughed twice, the expression on his face very ugly. If their identities are really discovered, then these people, I am afraid they will not escape, I am afraid they will all die. Hey, who are you? Is it polite to come in without authorization? There is no Kudo Shinichi you're looking for here. Shaolan was a little angry. This guy is too rude, he doesn't report his home, and he enters other people's homes without permission. Where's that guy Kudo Shinichi? You're his girlfriend, you should know where he is, right? Call him out to me quickly. Shinichi Kudo is not my boyfriend, don't talk nonsense. Shaolin glanced at Chen, then looked at him with a cold expression. Chen glanced at the figure, and the corner of his mouth curled up. If he guessed correctly, this guy should be Hattori Heiji. Shaolan, who is this black charcoal? When Hattori Heiji heard the word black charcoal, his face immediately fell, and he looked at Chen unhappily. Are you polite? Hattori asked angrily. Courtesy. It also depends on who you are dealing with. You don't need any courtesy. Chen glanced at him lightly and said. This guy also has the face to talk about politeness. He entered someone's house without permission from others and shouted. Is this considered polite? What do you mean? Also, who are you? Could it be Kudo Shinichi? Hattori looked at Chen angrily. No, I'm not some kind of Kudo Shinichi. Yeah, I've seen Kudo Shinichi's photo, and it doesn't look like you at all. Hattori Heiji nodded and said. Ah tilde. Conan sneezed, his eyes kept on Hattori Heiji. Looking at him, he didn't seem to be a member of the black organization. Boy, who are you and what are you doing? If you entrust me to do things. Mori Kogoro raised his head and asked. Entrust you? I won't entrust you, a confused detective, to do anything. Hattori Heiji glanced at Mori Kogoro and said disdainfully. Although Mori Kogoro seems to be very famous now, Hattori Heiji feels that there must be a reason for Mori Kogoro suddenly becoming powerful. Maybe there is a suggestion from Kudo Shinichi. You guy, how dare you look down on me? Mori Kogoro clenched his fists angrily. I just want to know, where is Shinichi Kudo? What are you looking for that hateful kid? What are you doing here at my house? I don't welcome you here, Leave me quickly, it's just as annoying as that hateful kid. Maori Kogoro said angrily. Chen glanced at Hattori Heiji, and when he came to someone else's house, he couldn't see them clearly. This is no longer a problem of arrogance, but a problem with emotional intelligence. Just like Kudo Shinichi, is this the case with every detective? Chapter 832 Do you think you are such a person? Chapter 832 Do you think you are such a person? As long as you tell me the whereabouts of Kudo Shinichi, I will leave. After all, I am only interested in Kudo Shinichi. Chen Wenyan was stunned for a moment, only interested in Kudo Shinichi. Sorry, Chen suddenly thought crooked. I told you, there is no Kudo Shinichi you're looking for here. Xiaolan was a little angry. Why did this person do this? He told him that there was no Kudo Shinichi, and he had to ask. Black boy in Kansai dialect, you'd better leave me now, or I will use force. Mori Kogoro stood up. The bastard who disturbed his drinking, Kogoro Mori wanted to punch him away. I'm not a black boy with a Kansai accent, I'm Hattori Heiji, a high school detective like Kudo Shinichi. It turned out to be just a high school detective. Conan heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it's not a member of the black organization, Conan is most afraid that the other party is a member of the black organization. Tilda. Conan sneezed again, took out a tissue and wiped his nose. It was really hard to catch a cold, and he felt uncomfortable all over. My little brother has a cold, so I just brought you a bottle of good medicine. Hattori Heiji took out a bottle from his backpack. Chen looked at the bottle, and a light flashed in his eyes. This is a bottle of wine. Washa's Bagan is this bottle of wine, which made Conan change back to Kudo Shinichi again. So Chen is very curious, this wine can still be used as an antidote. However, this is only a one-off, and it will have no effect after that, it should be resistance. Hattori Heiji poured a glass and handed it to Conan. Conan didn't know if he was confused because of a cold. If he really drank it, he probably couldn't even smell the alcohol. After Conan drank it, he started to crooked and his whole face turned yui color. Conan, what's wrong with you? What did you drink for Conan? Shaolin asked Hattori Heiji angrily. It's a kind of wine called shirataki. Before I meet Kudo, I'll disturb you here. This is a welcome gift. Hattori Heiji said. No one makes this decision on their own. Shaolin was very upset. Of course, as long as you have a thick skin and don't care about other people's eyes, you can do anything. Chen glanced at Hattori Heiji. This guy is thick-skinned. Bang bang bang. How long do you want me to ring the doorbell? An old woman with sunglasses and a coat walked in. Your detective agency is quite good at receiving guests. The old woman's tone was full of displeasure. Sorry, we didn't hear it before. Shaolin said awkwardly. Are you here to entrust? Yes, could you please spare some time and listen to me about my commission? Of course it's no problem. Kogoro Mori became enthusiastic. This is the employer. Of course he should be enthusiastic. You want me to investigate the conduct of your son's girlfriend. This is her photo and resume. Sujimura Gongjong took out the photo and handed it to Mori Kogoro. Ms. Kusanagi Yukiko, 24 years old this year, graduated with first place in both Mitsuha Middle School and Mitsuha High School. She is currently studying at Dongdu Medical College and aspires to become a female doctor of Schwanyu Jishi. After Mori Kogoro looked at his resume, he put it aside, and then looked at Suji Village Gongjong. Looking at the resume, she is very good. Do you have any dissatisfaction with her? No, it's just because she's so perfect that she's not pleasing to the eye. Humans are inherently suspicious and jealous animals. Hattori Heiji interjected. Oh, then do you think you are such a person? Chen asked Hattori Heiji. I don't think I'm that kind of person. Hattori said, shaking his head. Hey Tilda, the detectives don't have any doubts. As for jealousy, if you come to Kudo Shinichi now, do you dare to say that there is no reason for jealousy? Chen said lightly. Kudo Shinichi and Hattori Heiji are very famous. Kudo in Kanto and Hattori in Kansai seem to be equally famous, but in the whole of Japan, Kudo Shinichi is more famous than Hattori Heiji. Hattori Heiji wanted to refute, but was speechless. By the way, who are you? Hattori Heiji asked Chen. I don't think I need to tell you this. For the specific details, I'll wait until after my house. You can talk to my husband. Sujimura Gongjong stood up and said. I don't know if I can go. Hattori asked. What are you doing? Maori Kogoro asked unhappily. He didn't have a good impression of Hattori Heiji at all. I'm very curious. I don't know if you can let me take a look. How did you investigate? In the end, everyone, including Shaolin and Chen, went towards the Suji village house together. Originally, Shaolin wanted to stay at home with Chen, but Chen asked to go together. Soon they came to Suji village's house. After the introduction of Suji village Gongjong, Chen and the others learned that her husband was a diplomat. The family is really big. Shaolin looked around. Ma'am, you are home. Fumio Koike, the deacon of the Suji village family, came over. By the way, who are these guests? This is what I invited. By the way, where is the master? Suji village Gongjong asked. My lord is in the study now. Mom, it's you. A woman came out, and it seemed that she was the woman in the previous photo, that is, the woman who was commissioned by Suji village Gongjong to investigate. Why did you come here? Suji village Gongjong asked sternly, with a very bad tone. I asked her to come. I saw that my father had been reluctant to meet Sachiko, so I brought Sachiko to the house. Sujimura Takayoshi came out and said. Sujimura Takayoshi is the boyfriend of Kusanagi Yukiko and the son of Sujimura Gongjong. But Dad didn't seem to leave the study from the very beginning. Sujimura Guishan said helplessly. He actually knew that his parents seemed to dislike Sachiko very much, especially his father, who didn't want to see Sachiko. By the way, Mom, are these people your friends? Kusanagi Yukiko 3.6 looked at Chen and the others. Is it none of your business? Suji village Gongjong said indifferently. Kusanagi Yukiko fell silent, her hands clenched tightly, and tears flashed in her eyes. I don't think that you have any status now to be short on my mother. I'm sorry. Kusanagi Yukiko lowered her head and said silently. Come with me. Sujimura Gongjong didn't even look at her, and walked up with Mori Kogoro and the others. Dad, are you still going out now? When going up, Suji village Gongjong saw an old man walking down and said aloud. I was about to take the fish I caught and show it to you. Sujimura put his hands behind his back, and then took out a piece of paper with a drawing of a fish on it. Look, did I catch a big fish? Chen glanced at the old man, who was very humorous. Chapter 833 The Death of a Diplomat. Chapter 833 The Death of a Diplomat. Please go to the Japanese room to wait for me, Dad, I still have some things to do now. Sujimura Gongjong said. Okay. The old man picked up the scroll and walked downstairs. Coming to the door of the study above, Suji village Gongjong knocked on the door, and then shouted, Husband, Mr. Maori is here, can you open the door? But after waiting for a while, no one came to open the door. Strange, isn't it inside? I'll use the key to open it and take a look. Suji village Gongjong took out the spare key and opened the door. After opening the door and entering, I saw a man resting his chin with his hand, as if he was asleep. Husband, you're in there, you're still playing music, and you fell asleep like that. Sujimura Gongjong walked towards the man. This music is an opera. Xiao Lan said. Husband, don't sleep anymore, get up quickly. Sujimura Gongjong pushed the man's body, who knew that the man fell to the ground all of a sudden. What's going on? Sujimura Gongjong took a few steps back in horror. Chen glanced at Sujimura Gongjong. A hint of playfulness appeared at the corner of his mouth. This 24-year-old woman is really courageous. Hattori Heiji hurried over, checked it, and said, it's useless, now he's dead. What? How could my husband die? Sujimura Gongjong showed a heartbroken expression. Xiaolan, hurry up and contact the police. Maori Kogoro shouted to Xiaolan. Xiaolan nodded, then immediately took out her mobile phone, called the Metropolitan Police Department, and called the police. Husband. Sujimura Gongjong wept bitterly. Conan lay on the ground and touched the body of the deceased. There is still residual warmth on the body of the deceased, and the lips have turned purple, and there is a small yuhi-colored spot where the hair roots are. Don't tell me. Conan immediately looked towards the ground, and then saw something flashing with cold light. Conan crawled over and tried to pick it up, but it happened to bump into Heiji and Hattori. It hurts, Hattori said, covering his head. Just when they were about to pick it up again, the needle that was flickering with cold light had already been picked up by Chen. Damn, why are you here? It hurts me to death. Hattori Heiji picked up Conan. Bastard, let me go, it should be me who is crying. Conan shouted angrily. Soon the police officer Mumu came here. The deceased's name is Sujimura Isao, 54 years old this year, and there happened to be a famous detective at the scene of the discovery of the body. Officer Mumu's eyes turned to Kogoro Mori. Then it was a murder. It's not clear, but his body is not traumatized. Mori Kogoro scratched his head and said. Click, click. Why are those police officers taking pictures of us? Shaolin asked in confusion. Maybe it's because I'm too handsome. After they took pictures, they were going to go back and admire my peerless face. Chen said with a smile. After those police officers heard this, they bit Kiba and gnashed their teeth. The ghosts want to see you. Because Chen and Shaolin are standing relatively close now, after they are ready to take pictures, they will show their goddess Sato Mikazu and let their goddess know that this guy is a scumbag. What are you doing for me? I'll let you shoot the scene. Officer Mumu said angrily. After Officer Mumu got angry, everyone immediately calmed down and went to the shooting scene obediently. You see clearly, he must have been poison. That's right, it's poisoning. Conan raised his head and stared blankly at Hattori Heiji. Hattori Heiji lowered his head and glanced at Conan. His eyes became deep. This kid doesn't seem to be simple. Conan was scrutinized, and his body was extremely stiff. Could it be that the other party has already seen his identity? It shouldn't be possible. No one will think about getting smaller, but it's better to keep a low profile in the future. Chen glanced at Conan, and made no secret of his talents. He clearly wanted to hide himself, but he showed his specialness all the time. There are really not enough people who know his identity. Hattori Heiji just glanced at Conan, and then turned his attention to the case. No matter how abnormal Conan's performance is, now Hattori Heiji's heart is only on the case. Look, in addition to leaving a small yuhi spot on the edge of his hair root, an iron needle that was suspected to be the murder weapon fell next to the body. After Hattori Heiji finished speaking, he turned his attention to Chen's body, but he picked up the iron needle. Don't look at me, the needle has already been thrown back by me. Chen said aloud. After hearing that, Hattori Heiji immediately looked towards the ground, then picked up the needle and handed it to the police. Although the deceased died with his hands on his face, in my opinion, he was stabbed to death with poison needles and then deliberately put on this posture. Hattori continued. However, this may be a suicide case. Mori Kogoro interjected. Don't you understand it yet? Look at this corpse. The lips and the tips of the hands and feet of the deceased have turned purple, and there are bleeding spots on the eyelashes. These are all evidence of suffocation, but the body cannot be found. To the streak. Quote. Therefore, the murderer must have poisoned and paralyzed the nerves of the deceased, and also used a poison that kills instantly. In addition, there is still body temperature from the deceased's body, and the deceased is completely free of rigidity and corpse madara, so Ken 600 must have been poisoned within 30 minutes of our arrival, and the murderer is near this home. Brother Maori, who is this person? Officer Mumu asked Kogoro Maori. His name is Hattori Heiji, and he is an arrogant detective. Mori Kogoro said dissatisfiedly. Mori Kogoro was very dissatisfied with the appearance of Hattori Heiji, who had just been in the limelight. Heiji Hattori, so it's you. Are you the son of the current director of the Osaka police station, Hattori Heizo? Officer Meguro was shocked. The current director of the Osaka police station. Mori Kogoro became a repeater. This is the essence of human beings, and even Mori Kogoro cannot escape. Looking at it now, he looks a lot like Shinichi. Shaolin whispered towards Chen. It's very similar, except that it looks like a black briquettes, and the others are 90% similar to Kudo Shinichi. Chen nodded and said. Not only the appearance, but also the temperament, they are really very similar, because they are a kind of people, so they have the same temperament. However, Kuroba Kato looks more like Kudo Shinichi, and is even carved out of the same mold. Xiaolan, aren't you tired from standing? Let's sit down. Chen pulled Xiaolan to the side and sat on the chair. Just let them solve the case. Chen has no interest, he just came here to take a look at Kudo Shinichi, who has grown bigger. Chapter 834 My Hattori Heiji is about to start pretending. Chapter 834 My Hattori Heiji is about to start pretending. Ah! Conan sneezed again, snot hanging from his nose, and he was very sick and had no energy at all. Conan, are you okay? Shaolin asked Conan. I'm fine, Sister Shaolin, don't worry. Conan shook his head quickly. Chen glanced at Conan and knew that he was trying to support him, and now it's probably very uncomfortable. I already had a cold, and when I was drunk, it was so uncomfortable to die. They didn't seem to have a chemical reaction, which has become a temporary antidote for APTX 4869. The windows of this study are all locked inside the room. It is impossible to get in and out from the outside. In this case, the only exit is the door. Officer Mumu paced, pinching his chin and analyzing. So now the most likely murderer is the one who holds the key to this room. Officer Mumu's eyes turned to Suji Village Gongjong. Ms. Sujimura, I think you also have the key to this room, right? Although Police Officer Meguro had doubts, he was confident. There are 2 keys in this study, one is with me and the other is in my husband's hand. My husband always keeps his keys in his trouser pocket. Officer Mumu heard the words, walked towards the corpse, and took out a key from his pocket. After seeing the key, Hattori Heiji's pupils widened. One of the 2 keys was on the murderer's body, and the other was on Sujimura Gongjong, who came in with them. If so, it makes for the perfect crime impossible, backroom murder. Chen, they seem surprised. Shaolin took Locken's hand in confusion. 2 keys, one in the hands of the deceased, and the other in the hands of Suji Village Gongjong, who brought us in. This is a secret room murder case. Chen said to Shaolin. Shaolin nodded knowingly. The murder case in the secret room seems to be very difficult to solve. But it's not necessarily a murder in a secret room. Who can guarantee that there is no other backup of the key, and who can guarantee that no one can use other methods to open the lock? Chen continued. Officer Mumu nodded when he heard the words. Even if he knew that there were only 2 keys, he was not sure. This was a case of murder in a secret room. This lock is specially made and no one will open it. Hattori Heiji said after taking a look at the door lock. Don't be so absolute. Since it is a lock, there is a way to open it. Believe it or not, I can open it for you. Chen said with a light look at him. Then you try it. Hattori Heiji said, very unconvinced. Hattori Heiji took the key and locked the door, but Chen took out 1,000 copies and opened the lock easily. When Hattori Heiji saw it, he couldn't help but be stunned. Even the policemen were stunned. They opened it in a second. Is this a professional thief? At this time, Hattori Heiji began to face Chen squarely, and there were not many people who could open locks, especially those who were so skilled at opening locks. So saying there are only 2 keys doesn't mean anything. It's so uncomfortable. My ears started ringing. I really want to end this case as soon as possible, and then go back to sleep as soon as possible. Conan wiped his nose and said drowsily. Let's put it down first. I think it's better to find out everyone who is present, and it is better to prove that you are not present. Hattori Heiji's gaze turned to Sujimura Takayoshi and the others. Are you doubting us? Sujimura Guishan asked very badly. How could he kill his own father? How is this possible? This dark-skinned guy is really annoying. If it wasn't for the police here, he would definitely knock Hattori Heiji to the ground. It's not impossible, please cooperate with our investigation. Officer Mumu walked over and said. Although they are all relatives of the deceased, their relatives may also be the murderers. The police have already said it, and they can only cooperate. By the way, Brother Mori, you must figure out the murderer before that Hattori Heiji. Officer Mumu pulled Maori Kogoro and walked to the side. It's for the sake of our Tokyo, please. Mori Kogoro was stunned for a moment, and then nodded. He also understood what Officer Meguro was thinking. If someone from Osaka helped solve the case, wouldn't it make them seem incompetent from Tokyo? Mr. Koike, the housekeeper, you said you've been chatting with your neighbors before. Yes, this neighbor can testify for me. Inspector Mumu nodded. Miss Sachiko and Mr. Guishan, did they arrive not long before Mrs. Sujimura came back? Yes. Officer Mumu took notes, and then looked at Miss Sachiko and Mr. Guishan. When Mr. Koike went to the door to pick up Mrs. Sujimura, were you at the top? Officer Mumu asked the two of them. We arrived at my study room, but the study room was locked, and he didn't answer, so we came down soon. Guishan said. After we got down, we saw my mother standing at the door. Kusanagi Yukiko said aloud. What about Mr. Ligwang? Officer Mumu finally looked at the father of the deceased. I've been watching TV next door to the study, the old man said with his head lowered. Chen, do you think the murderer will be among these people? Shaolin asked Chen in a low voice. Chen chuckled and looked at Conan. Now Conan's eyes were blurred, and his body shook violently. The book that the deceased visited before was so unusual, and the opera played at the murder scene. The opera, by the way, I already know the murderer's modus operandi. Just when Conan was about to say who the murderer was, he fell to the ground and fell into a coma. What's wrong with you, Conan? Shaolin was shocked when she saw Conan collapsed. Chen walked over and looked at Conan, and knew that it was Bai Gan's effect that had an effect. He seems to have a fever, hurry up and call the doctor, let him rest for a while. Chen said aloud. Then let him go to my room. Sujimura Takayoshi came over, picked up Conan and walked to his room. Conan should be all right. Shaolin was a little worried. Don't worry, that kid's life is very tough. Chen patted Shaolin on the shoulder and said. Conan will never die no matter what. Heiji Hattori, where have you been before? Officer Meguro looked at Heiji Hattori who had just disappeared suddenly and now appeared again. This is not important, the important thing is that I already know the prisoner's tactics. Hattori Heiji showed a confident smile on his face. Now he seems to be saying, you all stay out of the way, I, Hattori Heiji, are going to start pretending. Chen leaned against the wall, quietly watching Hattori Heiji pretending to be forceful. Chen, what are you laughing at? Shaolin asked suspiciously. It's nothing, I'm watching the fun. Chen hugged his hands and looked at the front quietly. Chapter 835 Kudo Shinichi appears. Chapter 835 Kudo Shinichi appears. This study looks like the doors and windows are closed, but it is not without a gap. Hattori Heiji said. Seeing the question marks on everyone's faces, Hattori Heiji nodded with satisfaction, he enjoyed this feeling very much. The crack of the door, the crack of this door. Hattori Heiji pointed towards the crack of the door. Ha ha ha, I laughed so hard, you mean to say, the murderer threw the key into the pocket of the deceased through this crack, right? Mori Kogoro looked at Hattori Heiji mockingly, and finally had a chance to laugh at this guy. Mori Kogoro always looked at this guy unhappy. Is it going to be a bit too much for Dad to do this? Shaolan couldn't help but said, looking at Kogoro Maori who was mocking wildly. Let's just sit and watch, there's no need to worry about it. Chen pulled Shaolan to the side and sat down. Shaolan, Are you hungry? Chen asked Xiaolan. They were called here when they were preparing to eat, and it was late now. That said, I'm really hungry, Xiaolan said shyly, rubbing her stomach. Hey, Chen took out a box of cakes and handed it to Xiaolan. Xiaolan was stunned. Where did Chen get the 517 cake? Chen, where did you come from? Xiaolan asked curiously. Of course it was stolen. Huh. Just kidding, I made it out of magic, how about it? Chen asked with a smile. It was made by magic, but is it really edible? Xiaolan looked at the cake in her hand suspiciously. Aren't magic tricks basically fake? This should be just a tool. No, this is a real cake, you can try it if you don't believe it. Xiaolan nodded, then opened the package. She believed that Chen would not deceive herself. Hattori Heiji began to demonstrate the criminal's methods of crime. The murderer first stabbed a poisonous needle from the deceased's neck, killed him, then snatched the key, and then pulled out the fishing line tied to the needle. Hattori Heiji took out the fishing line, and then fixed the other end to the key pendant. After that, the iron needle was passed through the pocket of the deceased, and then the police officer Mumu, who was temporarily acting as the deceased, was placed on a chair, posing with a chin. Xiaolan watched curiously while eating the cake. Xiaolan, the cream is sticking to her face. Chen took out a tissue and wiped the cream from the corner of Xiaolan's mouth. Xiaolan's hands froze, and she turned her head to look at Chen, with a touch of emotion in her eyes. Thank you, Chen. Chen looked at Xiaolan quite speechlessly, and was moved so easily. But Chen didn't know that he was the first person who cared and took care of her like this. Although Fei Yingli cared about Xiaolan very much, she couldn't see Xiaolan for a long time due to her work and separation. And Mori Kogoro, an alcoholic, has to let Xiaolan take care of him. As for Kudo Shinichi, forget it, except that the case's reasoning, there is nothing else in his mind. Hattori Heiji accidentally saw Chen's side, not only was slightly surprised, didn't he find out that Xiaolan was Kudo Shinichi's girlfriend? Is Kudo Shinichi being green? Thinking of this, Hattori Heiji felt a sense of sympathy for Kudo Shinichi in his heart. That guy is really pitiful. Also a poor man. The girlfriend seems to have been snatched away. Brother Hattori, why don't you continue reasoning? Officer Megumi asked Hattori Heiji in confusion. Heiji Hattori shook his head when he heard the words, and threw all these 8 trigrams out of his mind. In his eyes, solving the case was the most important thing. Hattori Heiji held both ends of the fishing line in his hands, then walked out the door, closed the door and locked it with the key. After that, he pulled out the key and began to pull the end that was tied to the iron needle. The key slowly entered the door as Hattori Heiji pulled. However, when it was about to pass through the crack of the door, it suddenly got stuck and the key was stuck inside. Unlike in the original book, in reality, this door gap seems to be a little small. Hattori Heiji tried to push the key in with force, but the key couldn't get in, mainly because the key was a little too big. Hattori Heiji picked up the key, then awkwardly opened the door and walked in. Seeing everyone staring at him, Hattori Heiji's face became even more embarrassed. The reasoning seemed to be wrong, and it couldn't be done at all. The door gap was too small. Ha ha ha, Chen couldn't help laughing. Seeing how confident he was before, I don't know how he feels now. Benchen wanted to wait for Kudo Shinichi to appear and slap him in the face. He didn't expect that before Kudo Shinichi appeared, Hattori Heiji was slapped in the face. No way, it's a waste of time, and high school students are really unreliable. Kogoro Mori took the opportunity to fall into the trap. Hattori Heiji ignored it, his entire face wrinkled, and he began to reorganize the clues. It has now been proven that what he believed to be the truth was wrong, so the reasoning has to be repeated. Sujimura Gongjong frowned. In fact, even she didn't expect that the key would be stuck there and couldn't get in. Damn, I should have tried it in the first place. No need to reason, the murderer is me. The old man Sujimura Rigwang suddenly stood up and said. Sujimura Gongjong looked up at Sujimura Rigwang, then lowered his head. Hattori Heiji was stunned. The most likely culprit he reasoned before was Sujimura Rigwang, but now everything has been denied by him. It's you. Why? Officer Mew Mew stared blankly at the old man who admitted that he was the murderer. I'm trying to make up for the mistakes I made back then. Sujimura Rigwang glanced at Sujimura Gongjang with guilt in his eyes. Chen, I'm full, let's go see how Conan is doing, shall we? The doctor should be here soon. Xiaolan said to Chen. But before he stood up, a figure appeared outside the study, and this person was Kudo Shinichi. Looking at Kudo Shinichi reappearing, the corner of Chen's mouth showed a radian. Huh, Kudo Shin turned his eyes and looked at Chen, just in time to see the inexplicable smile on his face. Kudo Shinichi frowned slightly, wondering what the hell this guy was laughing at. But now that he has recovered, Kudo Shinichi is very happy. Now Kudo Shinichi doesn't know, he just briefly changed back to his original form. Seeing that Officer Meguro and the others were going to grab Sujimura Rigwang and leave, Kudo Shinichi said immediately, Wait, Officer Meguro, this person is not the murderer. Hattori Heiji has been staring at Kudo Shinichi since he appeared. Has this guy appeared? Brother Kudo, where have you been these days? Officer Meguro was a little surprised when he saw Kudo Shinichi. In the past, many of their cases were solved by Kudo Shinichi. Although it was a bit embarrassing for the police to let detectives solve the case, it was enough to solve the case. Now Officer Megure misses Kudo Shinichi a little bit. Cough, I went to a place to solve the case. Kudo Shinichi said with a light cough. Shaolin looked at Shinichi with complicated eyes. Kudo Shinichi had been missing for a long time. Now that she appeared, Shaolin felt that she did not have much excitement and happiness in her heart. Chapter 836 Lovers Become Brothers and Sisters. Chapter 836 Lovers eventually become brothers and sisters. Xiaolan, long time no see. Kudo Shinichi waved at Xiaolan. Yeah, Xiaolin hummed softly, her expression a little dull. Kudo Shinichi touched his nose. He thought that Xiaolin was angry, so he didn't care, but the case in front of him was very important, and he already knew who the murderer was. I didn't expect that Kudo Shinichi, who has been missing for a long time, will appear today. Chen said that he didn't expect it, but there was no fluctuation in his eyes. Officer Mumu, this person is not the murderer. Kudo Shinichi said to Officer Mumu. Hattori Heiji frowned. After knowing that his reasoning failed, he also knew that the murderer was probably someone else, but this Sujimura Rigwang was still very suspicious. It seems that although you are not here, you have a clear understanding of what is going on here. Chen said suddenly. Kudo Shinichi's body froze when he heard the words. Shaolin looked at Kudo Shinichi. Yes, Kudo Shinichi is not here. Why does he seem to know a lot, and what is he doing here? Chen's words made everyone's eyes focus on Kudo Shinichi's body, with a look of inquiry in his eyes, especially Hattori Heiji. Could it be that the uncle Mori Kogoro told the other party? Hattori Heiji glanced at Mori Kogoro. In fact, before he came, Heiji Hattori suspected that Kogoro Mori had recently become famous, and that he was able to solve so many cases must have something to do with Kudo Shinichi. But when Kudo Shinichi appeared, Mori Kogoro was also surprised. The most important thing for a detective is observation. He must have a pair of eyes that are good at discovering things. Although Hattori Heiji mainly focused on Kudo Shinichi, he still saw the expression of Kogoro Mori. It was Conan who told me. Kudo Shinichi took a deep breath, and then pushed everything onto Conan, who was himself anyway. Actually the murderer is. I don't think there is any need to reason. The murderer is Suji Village Gongjang, right? Chen said lightly. What? How do you know? Kudo Shinichi looked at Chen in surprise. Chen Tan spread his hands and said, I don't want to know, but I saw it. When we came to this study, I saw her take out the poison needle hidden in the key hanger and stab the fat man's neck. Tisk tisk, I have to say that you were really brave. Suji Village Gongjang lowered her head, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. She didn't expect to be seen when she was committing the crime. Sure enough, no matter how well hidden it is still possible to be discovered. It is too dangerous to kill someone in front of everyone. Brother Chen, did you really see it? Officer Mew Mew asked in surprise. Yes, if you don't believe me, go check her keys. But why didn't you say it before? Hattori Heiji said angrily. Just now, Chen was watching all kinds of reasoning. He didn't feel it before, but thinking about it now, in the eyes of Chen who knew the truth, he was just a clown performing. You didn't ask me before. Chen smiled flatly. Then why did you say it now? Hattori asked, frowning. It's different now. The person next to you is about to start acting intimidating. I'll just interrupt him. Otherwise, I don't know how long it will take. What should I do if I starve Shaolin? Chen stretched out his arms and put his arms around Shaolin. Officer Mumu watched Chen hug Shaolin, frowning slightly. Isn't Chen and Mawako in love? The other police officers started taking pictures one after another, and then looked at Chen with your deadly eyes. Let go of Shaolin, cough tilde. Kudo Shinichi shook his body. His cold hasn't healed yet, and after returning, his body is still a little weak, and his physical condition is actually not good. But seeing Chen hugging Shaolin, Kudo Shinichi was really angry, and a fire burst out in his chest, a fire that would burn him to ashes. Hey, Kudo, are you okay? Hattori Heiji suddenly looked at Kudo Shinichi with sympathy. This guy is so sad. It should be a big blow to him now. Thinking about it, Hattori Heiji would definitely die of anger if he and Yiruo were in someone else's arms. However, he who can't feel the same, has no idea how uncomfortable Kudo Shinichi is now, and he will know when he and Kudo Shin are ill together one day. Chen. Shaolin gently pushed Chen, and in front of so many people, being hugged, Shaolin was a little shy. Seeing Shaolin's shy look, Kudo Shinichi's anger was burning, and he felt like he was about to explode. Officer Mumu and the others have no time to take care of this, and now they have to do business, look at Mrs. Sujimura, and wait for her to confess. Suji Village Gongjong is not denying anything, and now she can't escape. 4. Why? The most unacceptable person is Sujimura Takayoshi. He doesn't understand why Sujimura Gongjong wants to kill his father. Suji Village Gongjong gave Kasumi Sachiko a complicated look, and then said, Sachiko is actually my daughter. Huh? Surprised, right? Sachiko is the daughter of my ex-husband and I. Although Sujimura Gongjong's tone was calm, her body was shaking. Just 20 years ago, my ex-husband, Kenji Yamashiro, was accused of dereliction of duty by Sujimura, and finally died in prison. Sachiko is his daughter and I. Sujimura Gongjong was very angry. Her husband was framed, and she was deceived by Sujimura Shuin and married Sujimura Shuin. If it hadn't been said by Sujimura himself, Sujimura Gongjong would have been deceived for the rest of his life, but it was also that time when Sujimura Shuin told the truth, and it was also doomed to his death. When Sujimura Shuin framed Kenji, you also helped, right? Sujimura Gongjong looked at Sujimura Rigwang. I'm sorry, I didn't know what was wrong at the beginning. I would help Shuin to do such a thing. Sujimura Rigwang said guiltily. It is precisely because of this that he will stand up and confess his guilt. It is because of guilt that he knew from the beginning that his son was killed by Suji Village Gongjong. Is it any use to say sorry now? Sujimura Gongjong sneered. Kusanagi Yukiko stood there, not knowing what to do. Her mood was the most complicated. She did not expect that Sujimura Gongjong, who always looked down on her, was her biological mother. In fact, Suji Village Gongjong didn't like Sachiko, but he just didn't want her to marry the enemy's son. Sujimura Guishan is the son of Sujimura Shuin's ex-wife, and she is only Sujimura Guishan's stepmother. Is this the end of a lover who becomes a brother and sister? Chen couldn't help but complain. Chen, don't say something like this, it's not good if you hear it. Shaolin took Chen's hand and whispered. If Sujimura Takayoshi hears it, I am afraid he will come to fight with Chen to vent. After all, the person he likes suddenly becomes his sister. No one can accept this. Really unlucky. Chapter 837 Hattori Heiji discovers Conan's identity. Chapter 837 Hattori Heiji discovers Conan's identity. Tsuji Village Gongjong was taken away, while Tsuji Village Takayoshi and Kusanagi Yukiko remained silent, and Mr. Tsuji Village Rigwang sat on the ground and sighed. Kudo, what's wrong with you? Hattori Heiji looked at Kudo Shinichi. Very wrong. Did he see that scene? Kudo Shinichi clutched his heart, feeling uncomfortable, as if his body was about to melt. He had experienced this kind of pain before, that is, when he changed back. That kind of pain made Kudo Shinichi feel like he wanted to die. Don't I have the effect of removing the poison at all? Will I continue to change back? Kudo Shinichi secretly muttered to himself. After he changed back, Kudo Shinichi was very happy, but now it seems that he is too happy. What's wrong with you, Shinichi? Shaolin asked Kudo Shinichi. It's nothing, I have something very important to do right now, so I have to leave. Kudo Shinichi gave Chen an angry look at Shaolin's side, and then left quickly. In any case, it is absolutely impossible to turn into Conan's appearance in front of Shaolin. There are so many people here, and it will only be very dangerous if they are caught by others. Especially here is a dangerous person, Hyuga Chen. New one. Shaolin was about to call him, but he disappeared without a trace. It's like this again, alas, leave him alone. Shaolin sighed and said disappointedly. If it was before, Shaolin might still have some good feelings between men and women for Kudo Shinichi, but now it has disappeared. At most it is the concern of childhood sweethearts. Let's go, let's find a place to eat, Chen said to Shaolin. Mori Kogoro went with him to the police station. Hattori Heiji went to chase after his good friend Kudo Shinichi, and now Chen and Shaolin are left. Sorry, Chen, I originally wanted to invite you to dinner, but now. Shaolin said embarrassedly. Don't say sorry, let's go, let's find a place to eat. Chen took Shaolin's hand and left. But what about Conan? Shaolin only remembered Conan at this time. Conan is still here. I asked Sujimura Guishan, and Sujimura Guishan said that Conan was gone, which made Shaolin panic. Perhaps he followed Kudo Shinichi and called Kudo Shinichi's number to ask if he would know. Chen said to the anxious Shaolin. Shaolin immediately calmed down when she heard the words, and hurriedly called Kudo Shinichi's number. In an empty alley, Kudo Shinichi leaned against the wall in pain, looked at the constantly ringing mobile phone, and took it over to have a look. Seeing that Shaolin called him, Kudo Shinichi fell silent, as if he couldn't even feel the pain on his body. Shang Shaolin was hugged by Hyuga Chen and looked shy. Kudo Shinichi felt a pain in his heart. After hesitating for a while, Kudo Shinichi answered the phone. Hey, Shaolin, what's the matter with you? I'm going to work on a case now. Kudo Shinichi asked calmly despite the pain. Shinichi, where's Conan? Is Conan with you? Conan disappeared. Shaolin's tone was a little panicked. Conan was fostered in her home. If something happened to Conan, how would she explain to Conan's parents? You mean Conan? He is indeed here with me. Sister Shaolin, I'm here with brother Shinyi, don't worry about it. Kudo Shinichi said with a voice changer. Shaolin breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Conan is fine, that's fine. Shaolin is most afraid of what happened to Conan, otherwise she really can't explain it, and with Shaolin's character, she will definitely blame herself for the rest of her life. I have something to do, so I hang up Shaolin first. After Kudo Shinichi finished speaking, he hung up the phone immediately. You. Leaning against the wall, Kudo Shinichi wanted to die in pain. Every inch of his body seemed to be struck by a sledgehammer, and his bones were about to shatter. Yuhi's eyes were red, his forehead was bulging, and his fists kept hitting the ground. Kudo Shinichi didn't care even if there was blood left, because the pain in his body now made him have no time to care about it. However, the pain did not last long, and Kudo Shinichi's body suddenly shrank, which went against common sense. The medicine that Shiho Miyano researched was a bug in this world. After becoming Conan again, he couldn't help gasping for breath, His body was covered in cold sweat, leaning against the wall looking like he was about to die. Ta-ta-ta. After hearing the footsteps, Conan stood up vigilantly, but now the clothes on his body were out of place. He just stood up, fell forward because of weakness, and tripped over the clothes. The clothes Conan is wearing now are still those of Takayoshi Sugimura. After all, he changed back to Shinichi Kudo in Sugimura Takayoshi's room at the time. He had no clothes at all, so he could only wear Sugimura Takayoshi's. I didn't expect you to be Kudo Shinichi. Hattori Heiji looked at Conan complicatedly. Conan became smaller before, but he saw all of it, and now Hattori Heiji is shocked. It is unimaginable that a high school student turned into a primary school student. It is really unimaginable. You have already seen it. Conan looked up at Hattori Heiji without denying anything. It's been seen, and there's no use denying it. Well, can you tell me how you got smaller? Hattori asked Conan. Conan was silent for a while, then said, "Can I trust you? If there is any secret, I will definitely keep it secret for you." Hattori Heiji was already interested, and he intuitively told him that this time he might touch on some big secret. I met a mysterious black-clothed group who was knocked unconscious for eavesdropping on their conversation, and then got poisoned. Conan's eyes revealed complexity. Maybe he shouldn't have gone in the first place. However, with his character, even if he was given a chance to start again, he would definitely investigate the organization in black. Dogs can't stop eating shit. Because of that poison, I've become like this. Maybe the people in that organization already thought I was dead. Conan lowered his head and was silent for a while, then said, "There is still such a criminal organization in 3.2. Hattori Heiji's brows furrowed. He has never heard of this organization. It seems that it is deeply hidden. However, Hattori Heiji believes that his father must have information about this organization, and he should know about this organization. Compared with Hattori Heiji's father, who has a high status in the police world, he will definitely know a lot of Akatsuki's secrets, but because of Hattori Heiji's safety, he will never reveal these to Hattori Heiji. I didn't expect that they would develop this kind of medicine and turn people into children." Conan smiled bitterly. "It is estimated that it should be a murderous poison. Maybe it has mutated, and there have been changes that they do not understand." Hattori Heiji said. "These are just guesses, and they can't understand it, but Hattori Heiji is already interested in the black organization." Chapter 838 Conan and Hattori Heiji collaborate. Chapter 838 Conan and Hattori Heiji cooperate. "Then what are your plans now?" Hattori asked Conan. Conan was silent, and there was no clue about the organization in black. It was not so easy to find a deeply hidden organization. But he also had to go to the black organization, not to mention that the sense of justice in his heart does not allow this kind of dark organization to exist. Even for himself, Conan has to find them. Conan must get a sample of the poison he ate. Only in this way can he change back, and now Conan is in a hurry. That guy, Hyuga-chen, is so close to Shaolin now that Shaolin doesn't even resent the hug from that guy. Last time at Sonoko's mountain villa, Conan also witnessed Hyuga-chen and Shaolin kissing, and it hurts to think about Conan. So he could only hypnotize himself. Shaolin was not willing, but was coerced by Hyuga-chen, so he forgave Shaolin and put all his hatred on Hyuga-chen. He had never had close contact with Shaolin. Thinking about it, he didn't even hold Shaolin's hand, but Shaolin was eaten tofu by that bastard, and Conan hated it to death. "What's wrong with you, Kudo?" Hattori Heiji asked quickly. At this time, Conan Kai-Yuhi's eyes were narrowed, and the appearance of biting Kiba 24 feet's teeth resentfully made Hattori Heiji startled. "Kudo, I know you hate that organization, but you have to calm down now. Only in this way can you catch the organization in the dark." Hattori Heiji patted Kudo Shinichi on the shoulder and said. Conan took a deep breath and said, "I see." He knew that Hattori Heiji had misunderstood, but if he misunderstood, he would have misunderstood. He couldn't explain it, and would he be laughed at when he explained it? Conan's self-esteem is not allowed to be laughed at by others. Shinichi Kudo, let's join forces. Hattori Heiji said to Conan. Conan raised his head and looked at Hattori Heiji suspiciously. One of us is a famous detective in Kanto, and the other is a famous detective in Kansai. Together, the two of us will be able to find the black organization. Hattori Heiji said excitedly. Those small cases could no longer satisfy him. It was obviously more challenging for him to crack bigger cases, the black-clothed organization that had been hiding in secret for countless years. This matter is very dangerous. You have to think about it. If you intervene, you will have no way to get out. Conan reminded Hattori Heiji. In the face of the black organization, the danger is not only himself, but also his family, so Conan wants Hattori Heiji to think carefully. No, I've already thought about it. Hattori Heiji's eyes shone brightly. Hattori Heiji and Kudo Shinichi are the same type of people, they are both people who like to die. Conan nodded. Since Hattori Heiji had already thought about it, he wouldn't say anything more. What's more, Conan also hopes that Heiji Hattori can participate. With the help of Heiji Hattori, it will be much easier to deal with the black organization. He has also heard a lot about Hattori Heiji's name, and he also recognizes Hattori Heiji's ability. Moreover, Hattori Heiji's identity background can also be used. Now we are collaborators. Hattori Heiji reached out to Conan. Conan didn't hesitate to hold Heiji and Hattori together, one big and one small, two hands together, and now they are people tied to a chariot. Hatrobe, my current identity must not be revealed. Conan said quite seriously. I understand this. For the safety of you and your family, I will never leak it to you. Hattori Heiji assured Conan. Conan nodded, and he agreed to cooperate with Heiji Hattori, partly because Heiji Hattori already knew his identity. Why are you staying at the Maori Detective Agency now? Is it because of Morilin? Hattori Heiji asked Conan. I want to rely on the influence of Uncle Maori to get in touch with more cases and find out the clues of the black organization. Oh, the cases that Maori Kogoro solved before were all your help, right? Although he was in doubt, Hattori Heiji was very sure in his heart. By the way, what's the name of that handsome guy? Hattori asked. Conan knew who the guy Hattori Heiji was talking about, and thinking of that person made Conan's heart gloomy. His name is Hyuga Chen. That guy is not a good person, but a very dangerous person. I suspect that there is an organization behind him. Maybe he is the one from the black organization. Really? Hattori asked. Could it be that Kudo was resentful because he was robbed of his girlfriend, and then deliberately smeared it? It's true. Conan glared at Hattori Heiji angrily. He could clearly see his doubts in Hattori Heiji's eyes. Conan told Hattori Heiji about some of the things that had happened in the past, and Hattori Heiji looked serious. I want to ask you to help me investigate him. I'm afraid I can't act rashly now, or I will definitely be suspected. Conan said to Hattori Heiji. Okay, I will definitely help you investigate him. Hattori Heiji nodded. Thank you, Hattori. Conan looked at Hattori Heiji gratefully. If you can investigate what kind of black material about Hyuga-chan, you can not only arrest him, but also let Shaolin see his true colors. Let Shaolin stay away from that bastard first, so that Shaolin will not be hurt. Conan whispered. When Conan is ready, he will use Kudo Shinichi's identity to call Shaolin and tell Shaolin to stay away from Hyuga-chan. Let's find a place to eat now. By the way, is your cold better? Hattori asked Conan 400. Conan glanced at Hattori Heiji. If this guy hadn't poured him alcohol, he wouldn't be so embarrassed. By the way, wine. A light flashed across Conan's mind, and he briefly changed back to an adult. Could it be because of the alcohol? If this is the case, it may be possible for him to recover. As long as Kudo Shinichi's identity is restored, he is sure to take back Shaolin. Hado, what kind of wine did you bring before? Conan quickly asked Hattori Heiji. It's Bagan, a wine from China. What's wrong? I suspect that I suddenly changed back because of the wine. The composition of the wine is likely to contain antidote. Hattori Heiji thought for a while, and felt that there was such a possibility, so he was dragged by Conan and ran to buy white dry wine. In the big supermarket, I finally bought 2 bottles of white dry. Do you really want to drink? Hattori asked. Conan bit Kiba, then picked up the bottle and took a sip. The spicy feeling made his tears flow out, but Conan resisted and continued to drink. If it can be changed back, even if the stomach is perforated, he will drink it too. Conan is also really cruel. He drank all the 2 bottles of wine, and he didn't stop for a moment. After drinking it, I fainted, and there was no change at all. Chapter 839 Teasing Yukiko. Chapter 839 Flirting with Yukiko. Hattori Heiji looked at Conan helplessly. Now that Conan is drunk, he must not be sent to Mori Detective Agency. Let's take you to the hotel first. Hattori Heiji walked towards the hotel with Conan on his back. It seems that Bagan doesn't work now. I don't know if it's because of resistance, or because it hasn't worked yet. This is also the reason why Hattori Heiji didn't send Conan back, because in case the effect of Baganshu was delayed, after sending him back, what if he suddenly became Kudo Shinichi? On the other side, Chen and Shaolin finished their meal. Chen, I want to go back and have a look. I don't know if Dad and Conan have gone back. Shaolin said to Chen. Okay, I'll take you back. Chen got into the car and asked Shaolin to sit on it. Shaolin looked at Chen, hesitating and hesitating. Shaolan, do you have something to say to me? Chen asked involuntarily, looking at Shaolan's appearance. I want to ask, does the little Izumi Yuhizi live in your house? Shaolin hesitated for a long time before asking. Well, Yuhiko is indeed at my house. She is a friend of mine in Tokyo, so she wants to live there, and I can't refuse. Oh, Shaolin lowered her head, making it unclear what she was thinking. Chen, do you think little Izumi Yuhiko is beautiful, or am I more beautiful? Shaolin asked with her bright big eyes staring at Chen. Why ask this question? I just want to know. In school, Izumi Yuhiko is said to be much prettier than me, so I want to hear your opinion. Chen stretched out his hand and touched Shaolin's head, and asked with a smile, are you jealous, Shaolin? Shaolan shook her head. She was not jealous of little Izumi Yuhiko, and she also admitted that little Izumi Yuhiko was indeed beautiful. However, after knowing that Xiao Izumi Yuhiko and Chen lived together, Shaolan felt a little uncomfortable in her heart, which is why she asked this question. You two are completely different people. If she is a witch and you are an angel, there is no meaning in comparison. If you have to ask, I think you are more beautiful. Shaolin felt a little happy after hearing it. Arriving at the Maori detective office, Shaolin got out of the car and went upstairs, but Chen didn't go up with him, greeted Azusa Inomoto in the cafe, and then drove home. Inomoto Azusa is very resentful. You don't care about the store you open at all. You leave it all to me to take care of it, and you're not afraid of me running away with money. After returning home, Chen walked into the door and was stunned to see the figure sitting on the sofa. Why did you come to my house? We are also neighbors, can't we come and visit? Yuchizi said with a snort. There is a road between us. Chen couldn't help saying. Why is Chris at your house? Yukiko pointed to Belmont and asked Chen. Oh, you said she was taken care of by me, why, can't it? Chen said after sitting down. What? Yukiko's mouth widened in surprise, and then pouted, it must be a lie. It's a lie, it's not that Chris has no money, so how could she be supported by you? Legacy, left by her good sister Sharon, so she will never be short of money. Ask her if you don't believe me. Chen walked over and put Belmont in his arms. It's all said, miss, you've got the wrong person. I'm not Chris Wynyard at all. After all, I'm not as good as the big star Chris. Really not. Yukiko was puzzled. Because it was boring to stay at home, Yuchizi went out for a walk, and after arriving at Chen's house, she thought that she and Chen were acquainted, so she came to visit. But after seeing the person who opened the door for her, Yukiko was stunned. She looked almost exactly like her friend Sharon. Yukiko knew that Sharon was dead, so it must be her daughter Chris Wynyard. Of course, Belmont also recognized Yukiko, a friend she hadn't seen for a long time, but she didn't plan to reveal her identity and directly deny that she was Chris. Chen glanced at Belmont, then said, "Her name is Belmont, but she looks a bit like Chris Wynyard." "Oh, sorry, I got the wrong person." Yukiko Kudo smiled awkwardly at Belmont. "But you are keeping a woman and want to pursue Shaolin." There was a hint of anger in Yuchizi's eyes. "Yeah, man, you always like to eat what's in a bowl and look at what's in a pot. I think you look good too, why don't you be my lover?" Chen pinched Kudo Yukiko's chin and breathed softly in her ear. Tilda's heartbeat quickened, her face turned pale. She turned her head slightly, and looked at Chen's face so close to her. Her handsome appearance was not mortal. "Oh, why is your heart beating so fast? I'll show you." Chen's hands were attached to Yukiko's heart. Yukiko looked at the hand in her heart, stunned, and then got angry. "Bastard, you are taking advantage of me." Yukiko wanted to push Chen away, but her whole body was pinned down and she couldn't move at all. What do you want to do?" Yukiko suddenly became nervous. "Why are you so nervous?" "I won't eat people." Belmont glanced at Chen. "Can't eat people? You eat people without spitting bones." But is he really interested in Yukiko? Belmont thought to himself as he looked at Chen, who was bullying Yukiko. "Hurry up and let me go, or I'll make you look good." "Yo, I want to see how you make me look good," Chen teased and asked. "You." Just when Yuchizi was about to say something, Chen suddenly let go of her, which made Yuchizi stunned for a moment. "Why, looking at your unbelievable look, do you want me to continue?" "The devil will let you continue." Yukiko tidied up her clothes with Yuhi run on her face. "I'll tell you, I'm going to tell Yingri about today's affairs, just wait and see," Yukiko said with a cold snort. "Then what do you want to say to Fei Yingli?" Chenhun asked indifferently. "I'll tell her that if you want to force me, Yingri will definitely keep Shaoran away from you," Yukiko said. "Then why don't you just come to the real thing, and then let you take a few pictures to use as evidence, what do you think?" Chen approached Yuchizi again, causing Yuchizi's heart to beat violently. Sniffing the breath on Chen's body, her mind suddenly became muddled. Seeing Chen keep approaching her, Yukiko pursed her lips and closed her eyes. Belmont cast a glance, suddenly stunned. Why didn't he resist? What's with the look of resignation? Is this really Yukiko she knew? Yukiko closed her eyes and waited for a while, without waiting for a special touch, then opened her eyes and saw Chen's joking smile. At this moment Yukiko was ashamed and angry. Her face was hot, like being roasted by the fire. Why did she close her eyes before? Just like a little girl in her first love waiting for someone she likes to kiss. Why? Chapter 840 Hirota Masami. Mayano Akemi. Chapter 840, Hirota Masami. Mayano Akemi. "Yuchizi, were you looking forward to it just now?" Chen asked while looking at Yuchizi. Yuchizi glared at Chen coldly. "Tisk tisk, I used to look like a little girl begging for a kiss, but now I don't recognize anyone," Chen said with his legs crossed. "Don't mention what happened just now." Yuchizi had a slight anger on her face. Yuchizi stood up angrily, gave Chen a cold sideways glance, and left here with heavy steps. "Oh, they're gone," Belmont said with a smile, taking a sip of the coffee on the table. "It's good to go, it's convenient for us to do things." Chen picked up Belmont and walked towards the room. Belmont put his arms around Chen's neck, leaned over Chen's arms, and sniffed the scent on his body obsessively. There was an aura in Chen's body that fascinated Belmont, and it was precisely because of this that she fell into Chen's arms and couldn't extricate herself, and she was unwilling to extricate herself. Went to work, and little Izumi Yuhiko returned to Jongutian to get some things, and now Tatsu and Belmont are left at home. Therefore, the battlefield between Chen and Belmont is not limited to the bedroom, from the bedroom to the living room, then to the kitchen, and finally back to the living room. Just when Chen and Belmod were fighting fiercely, Yukiko suddenly came back and saw this scene after walking into the living room 847. After seeing the real battle, Yukiko's body stiffened there, and Belmod, who had misty eyes, opened his eyes and looked at Yukiko's place. Chen was not surprised that Yuchizi came in, and when she came back, Chen had already sensed her. "You guys." Yuchizi left in shame and anger, her face burning like fire. The two of them are so shameless, and now it's still broad daylight, and they actually do that kind of thing. The key is to let her bump into them. When Yuchizi came back, she sent her cell phone and dropped it here, so she came back to get her cell phone, but she didn't expect to see such a scene, which made her heart unable to calm down. The indescribable picture she just saw flashed in her mind. After Yukiko ran away, Belmod took a bite towards Chen. "Did you already know she's back?" Belmod asked angrily. "Yeah, but she can't disturb the important affairs between us," Chen said with a slight smile. "HMPH, what if it's a man who comes in and sees us?" Belmod snorted softly. "If it's a man, I've already gone down to report, and I won't be able to get in at all." Chen lightly kissed Belmod's face, and then the fight continued. When Sato Mawako came back, she was stunned when she saw the battle arena. "You guys really know how to play." After a long time, Mikazu Sato choked out such a sentence. Belmod's face was slightly Yuhi lying on the sofa, she had no strength, and even the clothes were put on by Chen. "By the way, a lot of people told me today, you are on a date with a girl, is this person Shaolin?" asked Mawako Sato. "Did the police tell you that?" Mawako nodded, it was the police who told her to stay away from Hyuga Chen. But those of them didn't know that she had already handed over everything to Chen, including her own heart. "Those people must have said a lot of bad things about me, right?" Chen asked Mawako. Although it is asking, Chen is very sure that they must have said a lot of bad things about themselves. After all, in the eyes of those of them, they are rivals in love. "Well, say you are a big radish." Mawako looked at Chen with some dissatisfaction. This guy is a big radish, but who made her fall in love with this big radish? Ordered takeout, and after eating, Chen rested with the two beauties in his arms. Time passed quickly, and half a month passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, the name of Kogoro Mori had already gained a certain reputation in Tokyo. Because during this time, Maori Kogoro seemed to be possessed by death, and the cases came to him one by one, making Maori Kogoro famous. In fact, those cases were all solved by Conan secretly. "Chen, I'm so sorry to bother you," Shaolin said rather embarrassedly. "It's nothing, it's not a big deal." Chen and Shaolin walked into the silver row, and Kogoro Mori had already entered. Because Mori Kogoro was going to do business at Silver Bank, but the Silver Bank was far away, Mori Kogoro was afraid of spending money and was unwilling to take a taxi, so he asked Shaolin to call Chen over. Of course, it was mainly because Kogoro Mori wanted to have a car addiction. This time, Kogoro Mori drove them over in Chen's car. Conan followed behind unhappily, watching Chen and Shaolin who were talking and laughing in front of them, and who were getting closer and closer. Conan felt a deep crisis. "Just in time, I want to do some business." Chen took out his membership card and walked towards the window of the Silver Line. He was going to make a supplementary card, and then use it for Mawako. Mawako's salary is not high, although Mawako doesn't like luxury goods, and the salary is enough for her, but Chen still prepares a card for him. "Hello, my name is Hirota Masami, what do you want to do?" A very handsome silver clerk. Looking at Masami Hirota, who had a sweet smile that seemed to melt people, Chen's eyes became strange. Although he didn't read all of Conan, he was very familiar with the name Hirota Masami. Although Hirota Masami died early, she is also a very important role. Her real identity is Miyano Akemi, the sister of Miyano Shiho. "Help me get a supplementary card." Chen handed the required information to Hirota Masami, and then kept his eyes on her. "Sir, what have you been staring at me for?" Hirota Masami lowered her head in embarrassment. He raised his head and glanced at Chen secretly, and then glanced at him again. Actually, if Miss Yami wants to see it, just watch it, I don't care. Chen teased. Hirota Masami's face became even more moist, and she was shy and unable to extricate herself. Chen, are you molesting someone? Shaolin came over and stared at Chen with unkind eyes. No, I'm just joking with Miss Yami. Chen spread his hands innocently. Shaolin glanced at the work card on Hirota Yami's chest, and after seeing her name, she said a little sourly, I just met, so I called Miss Yami, and the relationship is really close. Chen looked at Shaolin and smiled slightly. Shaolin was jealous, but this is also a good thing, which means that Shaolin likes himself. Hirota Yami lowered her head, focused on handling affairs for Chen, and occasionally looked up at Chen. No way, this is the importance of appearance. Hirota Masami can't help but take a look. Shaolin also saw it, and was very jealous in her heart, and glared at Chen.